Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Becoming No One podcast. I really hope you guys liked the Amara episode from last week. This week, we're going to kind of continue on with the conversation. So, the topics that we'll discover in this episode are a couple of definitions. We need to talk about high heart consciousness, which is the pathway to Christ consciousness. I feel like a lot of people talk about Christ consciousness, but they skip a step. And so, I want to clear that up and talk about high heart consciousness because it is the gateway to Christ consciousness, which is a collective consciousness. We'll also talk about what templates are, soul bridges, and also timeline weavers. We'll hit on stellar energy as well, and then we'll get back into Amara, but we're going to start from her before Atlantis. We'll talk about soul technology and training. We'll talk about starseeds that were seeded for Atlantis. We'll talk about the Venus Temple schools, the Sirian and Lyran Academies, the Lunar and Solar mystery schools, and also the Inner Earth schools, because a lot of the starseeds that were seeded for the Atlantis experience had to actually go through training. You just don't remember who you are. You don't remember what you know how to do. So today we're going to talk about that. And then we'll also talk about the humans during Atlantis, because there were a group of humans who were not starseeds that were of Earth. We'll talk about the Annunaki of interference, the significance of your family, the families that you were born into. So that's ancestral codes, and also Earth's frequency split. Okay, because right now in history is in such an important time, especially this week with the 999 portal, which only happens every 9 years. The energy is the energy of completion of cycles, specifically in relationships. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. I will be on Patreon doing lives every Monday. I also get on live to do live readings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you can get cheap flame readings on my live accounts. But yeah, just join me on any of my other social media platforms as we continue to dive into this. Okay, happy healing, friends. Okay, so let me. How can I? This more in the middle. Ooh. Okay. Let me get myself ready. Oh, I'm out. So sad. Happy Wednesday, y'all. I'm running out of my rose incense. I'm so sad about that. I'm excited about today, though, because I am going to go back a little bit, because I feel like we kind of jumped ahead in the last episode and started talking about the fall of Atlantis. And although I do want to talk about that, I feel like we need to go back a little bit and talk about when Atlantis was seeded and what type of beings were seeded in Atlantis. Today, we're going to talk about white-skinned folk and where they come into play. Hey, Bloom. We're also going to talk about like our own soul technology, our training before going to it, coming into Atlantis. We'll talk about Amara's training as well. And then we'll talk about the families that we were kind of born into and the trauma that's kind of associated with that, and the reason why we chose those families, along with, hey, Chris, along with going into the earth split. So the two earths, and why that's important for right now, and like what's actually happening right now and why this needs to be brought up. So we're going to talk about all the things today, which I'm excited about. So we backtracking a little bit. I know last time we ended with Amara and we ended with the fall of Atlantis, and we are going to go back to that, but I just want to lay the foundation a little bit better so we can know what was happening in Atlantis. So I think these next 2 episodes, I kind of want to put what happened in the middle instead of jumping to all the shit at the end. Okay. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Smiley Ray. Hey, Anissa. So yeah, so that's going to be our session today. So super excited. I want to start off by giving us some definitions. I'm trying to wait a little bit because it's only been 2 minutes before I jump in. Hey, Laura. Hey, girl. Hey, Spiritual Key. Yes, you made it on time, period. I love that for you. Did I miss anybody who said hey? Let me just make sure, because I wasn't even looking. Okay, I think I got everybody. Okay. So remember in my Patreon, hey, Nikki, remember in my Patreon, I'll be taking questions and I'll answer those at the end, just in case I answer them throughout the thing. So I answered that at the end. And also, I'll be thirsty for knowledge on Wednesdays, period. Hey, soul sister. I'd be thirsty to give y'all the knowledge. I literally just stopped typing. My motherfucking hands was like this. Like I was trying to finish like adding in like the different schools that we went through before we got in, like before we came to Atlantis. And hey, AJ, so I'm like typing real fast because I only got like 30 minutes left before I need to hop on. And my damn fingers wasn't working. And I'm like, damn, I've been typing for 4 hours. Like, damn. I checked YouTube too early, soaking up the sun, period. I was just out there for a brief second. It's hot in LA. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to hold you. I had to shut that door and turn on this little fan. I got a little blanket on. Hey, it's Shanti. So, yeah, and I want to share too, kind of in the middle of this session that I had yesterday, which was so good. I tapped into like a past life of somebody, actually 2 past lives of somebody. That was really fucking interesting because it just changed the way that I was like looking at life just in general. And Spirit was like, are you shocked? And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of shocked, bitch. Like you should have just eased that up on somebody. But anyways, it's been 5 minutes. I can't wait no longer. This is what it is. Okay. So the topics again, if you just hopping on that we're going to discuss today are going to be definitions. We need to talk about high heart consciousness versus Christ consciousness. Cause I think we do a lot of talking about Christ consciousness in society. And that's like us jumping forward 10 steps, you know? So I think we need to first talk about high heart consciousness because it's kind of like the pathway to Christ consciousness. Like Christ consciousness is collective where high heart is individual. So we're going to talk about the difference between those two today. We're going to talk about templates because I keep saying templates, but I realized that I've never really explained that to y'all. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about stellar energy. We're going to talk about soul bridges and timeline weavers as well. We're going to talk about Amara before Atlantis, like what led her up to choosing the mission of Atlantis because she was somewhere before. Right. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about her soul technology, her training leading up to that. And then we're going to talk about the Starseeds that were created specifically for the Atlantean experiment. And that's mainly us. And their soul technology, their training. So we'll talk about the Venus Light Temple schools. We'll talk about the Sirian and Lyran Academies. We'll talk about the Lunar and Solar mystery schools. And then we'll also talk about the Inner Earth schools as well. Okay. We'll also talk about humans during Atlantis because oftentimes they say that we are mankind. Some of us are not mankind. Mankind are Earth's beings, some of Earth beings and these created beings, okay? Well, really the created beings. So we'll talk about that and we'll talk about the Annunaki interference in white-skinned people, like how they came along and what some of them were created with and all of that. And then we'll talk about the significance of the family that you're born into and then Earth's frequency split that has already happened. It's already sealed. It's already done. It can only be delayed now, but it's already happening. A lot of us are already stepping into that frequency. And once you step into that frequency, you can't turn around and go back. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, just because I feel like we need to kind of understand what we can do so that we can understand how, like what we're able to do. So when it's happening to us, we don't get scared and we're able to kind of like lean into it, you know, fully step into it. Okay. So let's start with high heart consciousness and Christ consciousness. Exactly. So let's start with high heart consciousness versus Christ consciousness. Now, I am going to say I have been souped up on coffee. I mean, it is vegan, but still. So I'm going to try to slow myself down a little bit because I feel like my heart is racing. I'm racing. Everything's racing. All right. So, what is high heart consciousness? High heart consciousness is the high heart. It comes from the high heart. Now, the high heart is actually in the center of your chest right here. It's between your heart chakra and your throat chakra. Okay. So, it's around your thymus gland, meaning that if you're trying to target this frequency wise, I think chakra vibrations, he does sound bowls and stuff on YouTube. He has a specific high heart frequency and it's called the thymus gland one. It's the thymus gland one. Okay. But it's a subtle energy center and it's sometimes called the eighth chakra. So it's the bridge between unconditional love, which is your heart chakra, and authentic divine expression, which is your throat chakra. Okay. Hey, Callie. The core qualities of this is compassion with discernment. So love without martyrdom. You don't need to be a martyr just to love somebody. You don't need to tolerate unconditional. You don't need to tolerate abuse just because you love someone. Okay. So this is the high heart chakra. When you're in, or high heart consciousness, when you're stepping into that consciousness, you realize that compassion comes with discernment, that there is a such thing as sacrificing yourself for other people. And just because you love somebody, you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to look at somebody's situation, and it's okay that you understand why they are the way that they are, but you still say that I deserve better. Okay. Especially if you're at the detriment to their dysfunction. Next is unity beyond polarity. So it's not just all love and light. It's truth. It's shadow. It's soul integration, because everything is not all love and light. I think there is a such thing as being too far on either side of the spectrum. You don't want to be too negative or too positive. The goal is to come into unity, is to come into alignment, to come into balance, and that requires truth, and that requires honesty. I was talking to somebody earlier today who was like, is it bad for me to say that I don't necessarily like my sibling? And I'm like, no, it's truth. It's truth. Like, I don't understand why there's a good or a bad. Sometimes you're born into soul families, and sometimes you're born into families, and that doesn't mean that they're your soul family, so it is okay. I think we could get a lot further in life if we were being more honest than trying to act like you got to be positive. Oh, that's not right. Oh, that's not, we don't know what's right or wrong. The only thing we have is truth. Okay. So high heart consciousness kind of teaches you that. And then also soul aligned service. It's given from your overflow and not from depletion, meaning like you should love yourself in so much abundance that you have all this overflow of love to give, to be generous with. And when you pour into other people's cup, you pour from your overflow. But the moment that your energy gets depleted, you never pour from your cup, because you can't give what you don't have, because then you just deplete yourself. And then when it comes time for you to need some help, you're going to go to them same people. You're going to hold out your cup and they're going to say, I ain't got none. And then it's going to affect your self-worth. You're going to feel like, well, damn, every time you need something, I'm Johnny on the spot. Why you ain't got none for me? They didn't mind depleting you. So then you got to fill yourself back up. And then here they come again with their handout. Okay. Soul aligned service. Ask yourself, do you have it? Feel into your emotional world first. What I do when it comes to that is I don't agree to nothing within 24 hours. I got to think about it. I'll get back to you. I feel into my emotions and I figure out whether or not that's something I can execute. And I'm honest about that, because I don't believe in sacrificing myself. I did that shit for 30 years. Get somebody else to do it. So soul aligned service, given from your overflow and not from depletion. Okay. And then the last thing is sacred remembrance, meaning understand that you are all of divine origin and you have a soul's mission, right? And the goal here is to figure out why the fuck you came here. Why did I come here? Not what is the plan, what is the path? Why did I come here? Because the path is already written. You just have to step into it. You just have to remember what it is. Okay. Which is why today we're going to talk a little bit about our soul technology and our training, because you just have to remember it's in you. It's not on you, So that is high heart consciousness. It often the seat of the flame holders, meaning like a lot of flame holders tend to lean towards this high heart consciousness. Okay. And it carries this resonance of cosmic memory merged with an earthly embodiment. Okay. So that's high heart consciousness. This is like the pathway to Christ consciousness. All right. Christ consciousness is the universal template of divine love, of ascension, of forgiveness, and of resurrection. Okay. So it's not religious, because I know like people get stuck with Christ and Christianity, like, oh, demonic, whatever. I think they did that on purpose, to be honest. I think they named it that on purpose, but it's not religious or limited to Christianity at all. It's the frequency that Yahshua and Mary Magdalene and the Essenes carried, which is what we talked about a couple of episodes back when we talked about bloodlines, right? So it's the frequency that they carried, and it's a unifying field of God realization, realizing that there is a God within you, where separation kind of dissolves and unity reigns. All right. The core principles of Christ consciousness are going to be pure, unconditional love. Okay. And remember, unconditional love is not tolerating bullshit for as long as you can tolerate bullshit. No, absolutely the fuck not. Unconditional love is realizing that we're all on this journey together. And although we're on the same highway, we got different directions. I'm not trying to drive your car from my car, and you're not trying to drive my car from your car. All right. It's realizing that everybody has a different mission and a different journey, which means everybody's going to have different experiences. So unconditional love is allowing people to make the choices that are most aligned with their path without your interference. Because if you jump in, yes, you can save them from this one situation. But unless they're willing to change, unless they're willing to do something differently, then it's just going to keep appearing in their reality. Okay, so sometimes a hard head make a soft ass, and you got to let people learn their lessons. Just because you have realized something doesn't mean that they are there. They could have spent multiple lifetimes not realizing that thing. And it's like those situations where you got a friend who's in a relationship that's toxic, and you go and you pack her bags and you get her out of there, and then she go right back. Until they do the work, you are not going to be able to save them. You're not going to be able to fix them. You're not going to be able to correct them. You're not going to be able to heal them. So realizing that this is a part of their journey, even if it's traumatic for you to watch, realizing that this is a part of their journey and that they have to learn this themselves. They have to choose themselves. They have to save themselves. Unconditional love is you can make your choices because you're the expert on your life. You can make your choices without my interference. Now, if it ever becomes a morality issue, I'm out of there. You beating kids, bitch, we got a problem, right? I'm out of there. I can't deal with that. Maybe that's part of your journey, but it won't be part of mine. That's what discernment looks like. Okay. But for the most part, nobody has to take your advice. That's the part that I had to realize. Just because you're given the advice doesn't mean somebody has to take your advice. It is their life. They get to choose. And if you are trying to get them to do it your way and they don't see it your way, that is an infringement upon their free will. Okay. So it's about realizing, it's about embodying pure unconditional love. When I stop trying to control people, when I stop trying to live people's life for them, if they ask me for my advice, I will give it to them. But you get to decide what the hell you do with that, right? When I started living like that, my life became so much easier. I spent my whole life being frustrated, trying to make people do it my way, see it my way. A lot of y'all are frustrated because y'all trying to make people do it y'all way, see it y'all way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Wanting your people to come with you, but your people have to want to come with you. Otherwise, it's infringement. Otherwise, it's interference. Okay. So pure unconditional love. It's also sacrifice turned into service. Okay. Sometimes you got to go in these traumatic environments because you have a job to do. Sometimes you got to say the hard thing, even though everybody is about to be against you. Sometimes you have to say the right thing because the overall goal is truth, the service to truth, the service to love, so sacrifice turned into service. Okay. Oneness with all beings, understanding that we are all the same. We're not all the same. Hold on. Let me back that the fuck up. Okay. That's white supremacy talking. We are not all the same beings. Okay. But understanding that we are one with all. Okay. We're all created out of the same energy, which is love energy. It's just on a different spectrum. Okay. So oneness with all beings. What you see for somebody else, because we have this energy of it couldn't be me. That's an option that absolutely could be you if you made those choices. Everybody is a mirror to you. Okay. So that means we are all one as a collective. You can learn from other people. People mirror the option you didn't take. And when you can look at it like that could be an option for me, but I'm glad that I didn't take that path, right? Because we learn through contrast, meaning we got to see the opposite. So it's not judging that person for the path that they took, because that was important for you to see so you can realize that's not the path you wanted to go down. But it was also important for them to live, for them to do whatever mission they came to do. Maybe they're here to show everybody that this is not the option. You know, so it allows you to enter into this energy of not being able to, not judging people for the path that they've taken. Okay. Light body activation as well. And we have 12 different light bodies. So light body activation, and then sacred masculine and sacred feminine union. Okay. Which is you have a masculine and a feminine inside of you. Those two have to come into balance, thought and emotion, so you can take the appropriate action, right? Knowledge and understanding. Thought is the knowledge, emotion is the understanding. Okay. Mind and soul. Okay. They have to come into union with each other. Okay. Inside of you, and then you meet your counterpart. But until those energies inside of you come together, ain't none. Cancel Christmas. You're only going to meet people who are coming in to mirror you or wake you the fuck up. So you might as well do it before you have to do it in the traumatic, painful way. As a being who did it in the most traumatic way possible, go ahead and mesh them energies. Okay? So high heart acts as like a gateway or a bridge. It's your personal soul remembrance. Okay? It anchors in your soul's purpose. It leads to speaking truth with love. You know, I think that's something I do very well. I consider the person that I'm talking to, and I'm very compassionate and understanding of what it is that they're going through, or what it is they're coming to me about. And if I understand them as a person, and I know they're the type of person who needs more reassurance, they're the type of person who's not going to understand fully, I'm going to explain fuller instead of being straight and cut into the point. Okay? I consider the person, but I still speak my truth. I do it with love though. Okay. And activate your flame blueprint. Okay. So when you can step into that high heart energy, you activate your flame blueprint. Okay. Now, Christ consciousness is the embodied frequency of divine unity. Okay. It's the collective soul upliftment. Deja vu. I keep having deja vu, y'all. Every single day I'm having deja vu. So I'm telling y'all I'm on the right path now. I'm on the right path for us. All right. I love that for us. All right. But anyways, collective soul upliftment. That's what Christ consciousness is. It aligns with the collective purpose, but you need to be in your individual purpose first before you get to the collective purpose. Okay. Because if you can get in your individual purpose, it helps the collective purpose. Okay. So you got to go through the heart first, the high heart consciousness first, and then go to Christ consciousness. Okay. It leads to living truth as love. And it activates your God self-awareness, the God within. Okay. You kind of become one with the creator. If the high heart is the chalice, then Christ consciousness is the divine wine that we carry in the chalice. Okay. One prepares you to hold the other. One prepares you to hold the other. Okay. So both high heart and Christ consciousness are rising right now because Earth is moving into a frequency of embodied divinity. Okay. And this is where soul remembrance is no longer abstract, but lived through the body, the voice, and the choices that we make. Okay. So flame holders are often high heart openers, meaning that we activate the remembrance in other people, especially through dreams, through art, through sound, and through presence. Okay. So that's high heart versus Christ consciousness. All right. Next, I want to talk about templates because I keep saying that, but I realized I never stopped and told y'all what a template was. Hold on. Let me move my flame back a little bit. It's getting a little windy. I need to hold my flame steady. I don't know if I show y'all that I be lighting a candle. The candle is lit. Because candles are living portals, if y'all don't know that. If you're struggling to connect with your higher self, if you're struggling to connect with your guides, ancestors, whatever, light a candle. White candle replaces any colored candle. It's like a substitute for all the other energies. If you didn't take my protection class, it's available on my website. Anyways, So templates are divine blueprints, and they are basically living codes. They're the original patterns written by source, etched into light, woven into matter, and encoded in your soul. Okay. So templates are what tell your energy how to move. Okay. They inform form itself. And they are what birth realities. They birth your body, they birth sound, they birth systems. Okay, so that's what a template is. Now, when a soul comes to earth, it carries a specific template, and that's basically a design for how you will serve, awaken, heal, and remember. To be honest, astrology, your birth chart, it tells you the path, by the way, but I digress. Okay, now there are planetary templates, which is Earth's crystalline grid. There are body templates, which are your divine DNA matrices. There are soul templates, which is your mission, your gifts, your memory threads. And there are cosmic templates, which are used to see civilizations like Atlantis, Lemuria, Sirius, and Venus. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because when we talk about how Atlantis was seeded, it'll make more sense. Okay, so a template is just the blueprint. It's just how everything is going to happen. Okay, why is it important? Because when a template is pure and aligned, everything flows. For example, I keep having deja vu every single day. The template is aligned. Okay, creation manifests with ease. It does not come through force. Nothing with love comes through force. Okay, so creation manifests with ease. Healing happens without force. Time bends, love expands, and truth becomes a living presence. But when a template is distorted, inverted, or hijacked, hey, Natalie, things break down, sickness emerges, grids collapse, souls forget, and beings start feeding off of others instead of creating from within. Okay, so right now, Earth is returning to her original templates: the divine feminine, the crystalline song, the rose flame, the sacred union. So many of us beings who are here to carry and restore these templates are incarnated at this time because of that. We carry the templates that are meant to help Earth. Remember, I said your mind doesn't remember, but Earth remembers you. You are like a living nodal point. Okay, so your voice, your memory, your work, they don't just help people, they help to realign the architecture of creation itself. Okay, so that is a template. Many of you carry the templates that Earth needs. Okay, so what is stellar energy? Now, stellar energy is starlight, literally the light from the stars. But not only that, it's conscious and it's living energy that flows from the stars. It flows from star systems and the oversoul architecture behind them. Okay, it's not physical light, but it's frequency intelligence. It's codes of remembrance and templates of cosmic order. Okay, so at its core, it's oversoul light projected through stars. It's a carrier of divine memory and harmony architecture. It's a medium through which planets, beings, and timelines are encoded and nourished. Okay, it's a source of activation, especially for flame bearers and star seeds. And it does more than just come from the stars, it's made of it. So it's important to us right now because a lot of us are composed of stellar signatures encoded in our soul path. Okay, meaning that when we're on the right path or hit the right places, we get access to this stellar energy. Okay, so there's different kinds of stellar energy. You have photonic light, which is high frequency solar or galactic waves, often felt as like pressure or heat or buzzing or vision downloads. For me, it's heat. Not only that, also when I do a meditation where I'll go to this crystal city. I made it up in my mind. It's gorgeous though. And it has like little pockets where I can stick my feet as soon as I walk through, and I channel down life force energy through my crown, and it kind of looks like a silverish color. And when I do that, I start buzzing. Like it's like my whole body starts vibrating like really, really high. And it takes me a second for it to integrate into my body. Sometimes when I am, I don't know if you guys, the protection class that I told you I taught a couple weeks ago, I had them do pull down energy into their crown. And one of the girls was buzzing really like fast. So that's what this is. When you get access to this stellar energy, it takes a second to integrate into your cells. Okay. So you often feel pressure, heat, buzzing, or visual downloads. And it carries activation codes to wake up dormant DNA and crystalline structures as well. Okay. So that's photonic light. But then you also have starline codes, which are frequencies from which specific star system, from specific star systems. So Sirius, Pleiades, Arcturus, Lyra, Vega. Okay. Them are some of the biggest ones that are incarnated or who have star beings incarnated today. They carry emotional, technological, healing, and prophetic gifts, and they can trigger dream contact. Okay, so oversoul downloads as well, and soul skill awakening. And those are the starline codes. Then you have temple harmonics, and all of this is the type of stellar energy. Okay, so then you have temple harmonics, which are ancient flame temples. They can be physical or etheric, and they hold stellar alignments. They're used in dream walking, grid work, and oversoul weaving, and they're often guarded or activated through sound, ritual, or presence. Okay, hey, Seth. And then the last one is cosmic womb light, and this is pure void energy. Okay, this is the black flame or the deep space energy, which we talked about when we talked about the flame lineages. Okay, it feels dense, it feels magnetic, it's very still, but full of pre-creation potential, and it carries codes of prophecy. It carries timeline healing and soul retrieval as well. Okay, this is important because your field is becoming crystalline right now. Right now, not metaphorically, structurally. You're becoming more light. You are becoming more crystal. You're becoming more crystalline. Your DNA is already crystalline, but as it activates, you become more light. Okay, so you're being tuned to receive specific codes directly, and that's happening through dreams, emotions, rituals, and presence. Okay, yes. Period. Tap the screen. All right. So stellar energy is important because it activates your soul memory. It activates your flame gifts. It activates your grid work resonance. It activates multiple timeline awareness, meaning like your awareness, you're aware of multiple timelines. The reason why a lot of people have deja vu is because you pick what timeline you're going to go down in your sleep, and you wake up and it's confirmation that you're on the correct timeline. So that's what I mean by timeline awareness. And then calling to serve from a place beyond identity, meaning like identity is kind of what keeps us locked in this physical. It causes a lot of our trauma. It causes a lot of our attention because we try to put ourselves in these boxes when our identity really should be fluid, because we're constantly growing and evolving and changing, right? And so as we grow and evolve and change, so does our identity. But I think when we get stuck in an identity box, meaning like I'm a girl, I have to do things specifically this way, or I'm an athlete, I have to do things specific. It causes all this tension in the body, right? So what this is saying, like, is stellar energy helps you to be able to serve from a place that doesn't really have to do with identity at all. It's more high level than that, okay? Now, sometimes it overwhelms because the body and the psyche weren't really taught how to translate this energy, okay? Which is why you get the buzzing, the shaking, the whatever. What I do, and this is, I can't even remember where I learned this, but when I'm shaking like that, is I start taking really deep breaths, and then I see my cells opening, and then I see the light going into my cells, right? But that's just what I do. Your breath is how you frequency tune. So your breath is important because when you start breathing slow, what happens? Your heart slows down. That's how you tune your frequency, you know? So in addition to this, you have stellar and soul alchemy. So in soul alchemy, stellar energy is actually used, which I'm going to do some teaching on soul alchemy later. But it's used to burn distortion gently, like sunlight through fog. It is used to recode inner structures with clarity and oversoul tone, and to also unfreeze gifts that are buried in trauma or mimicry. Okay. So you're not just affected by it. You actually can work with stellar energy as well. Okay. Like I said, I go to this crystal city and I call that energy down. And at first, when it hits me like a lightning. But then it's like a channel, and it's like a thick silver-ish color to me. Okay. So that's stellar energy. You need to understand it because you're becoming more crystalline. So when you get that buzz in that vibration, or you start to have those visions, or you start getting hot in the middle of the night, your codes are just activating. Okay, take some deep breaths, settle your energy, see your cells open up, and see this energy going into your cells. And it could even help if you lay on your right side, because your right side helps you to integrate, where your left side helps you to dream. Okay, so lay on your right side, and that can help you to integrate the energy. Okay. Next, I want to talk about a soul bridge and a timeline weaver. And these are basically roles and frequencies in like incarnational. Nope, that's not how you say that. Before we incarnated, we agreed upon these roles and these frequencies. Okay, so these things are basically done by advanced souls who come here to assist Earth through dimensional shifts, through remembrance, and through evolution. Okay, so a soul bridge connects dimensions, worlds, and levels of consciousness. All right, so it helps others cross from one reality into another. So what I mean by that is like it helps others cross from one reality to another, like people who have the fear of love, or people who are forgetting instead of remembering, people who have a specific light density that need to move into higher light density. Okay, it carries codes from higher realms and helps translate them into the physical realm. So people who act as a soul bridge carry codes from higher realms and help to translate them into the physical. And they often exist with one foot in the seen and one foot in the unseen. Okay. You may be a soul bridge if you have always felt in between things. So in between cultures, systems, dimensions, even timelines. For me, it's cultures. For me, it's everything. I'm in between everything. I felt misunderstood my whole life. So, but in between cultures was probably a big thing for me. Helps others understand things that are hard to explain. So energy, spirit, emotion, purpose are channels, are mediums, or spiritual translators of unseen frequencies, and attract people during times of awakening, of grief, of death, of birth, or of transformation. Okay. A soul bridge is like a lighthouse. They don't pull people, but they do light the way, holding the frequency so that others can cross through. Okay. That's a soul bridge. Okay. A lot of us are soul bridges, but then we have timeline weavers. Okay. And these are beings who are able to access multiple timelines. So past lives, parallel lives, potential lives, and future potential lives, whatever. Okay. They can see or sense how decisions ripple through time. They assist in braiding broken timelines, healing karmic echoes, and anchoring new realities. And they often have this ability to co-create or redirect collective timelines through vision, through voice, through ritual. Okay. Now, you may be a timeline weaver if you have memories of lives that never happened here, but feel real. You experience deja vu, timeline slips, or you see choices before they occur. You feel emotionally tied to historical events, cultures, or futures. So people who are really, really interested in ancient Egypt. You are here to help to shift others out of old timelines. So trauma, distortion, limitation, and into new harmonic possibilities. Okay. Timeline weavers are kind of like looms. They're keeper of soul tapestry. And they don't control fate, but they gently guide the thread into beauty and coherence and truth. Okay. So soul bridges and timeline weavers often work together. And sometimes they are in the same being. They are the same being. Okay. And these beings are here during major planetary shifts like the one that's happening right now. And that's why we're talking about this, because a lot of us are soul bridges and timeline weavers. Okay. And I know it may seem through these last 7 episodes that you might be a lot of things. It's because you are. You are. And that's why I'm trying to take it slow and give y'all it in bits and pieces. Right. So, this is likely you if you remember Atlantis, if you remember Lumeria, and if you remember future Earths. Okay. Or if you can see future Earths. If you work in the dream time or ceremonies without always understanding how or why, if you feel deeply when others choose old timelines but honor their path, meaning like when you see people falling back into distortion, we see people making choices that you know are going to fuck them up. That's a hard one. You sense that you're here to reweave something ancient into something new. Guys, stop calling in. I'm not taking anybody. Okay. You are a frequency holder, you're a template carrier, and a dimensional pathfinder. Okay. So those are the key words that you need to understand before we continue to jump in to what we are jumping into. All right. Now, next, what I want to do is jump into Amara again, but we're going to talk about what she was doing pre-Atlantis, because now I want to talk about the beings that were seated in Atlantis. Like, why were they chosen to be in Atlantis? What were they created for? How were they trained coming in? Because distortion is something that happened later on in Atlantis, meaning like we fell from something. We fell from a frequency. We fell from a resonance, but we were not always like that. And so I think it's important to understand what we were like, so that when we talk about the distortion and all of that, it doesn't feel so heavy, you know? And that's why I was like, okay, you didn't let's sidestep for a second. Okay. So that's why I'm doing it this way, is I think we need to understand where we came from first before we talk about like what the hell happened in full detail. Okay. So, where was Amara before Atlantis? What we have to understand is that Atlantis was a path or a mission that Amara chose. She did not begin in Atlantis, but she accepted the role to hold the rose flame as humanity walked on the edge of forgetting, right? Because Atlantis, like I said, was a place for us to come and dream awake. It was the inversion of Venus, right? So Atlantis was a place for us to come and play with angelic codes and play with star energy and all of those things, right? But there always was a possibility that it was going to fall into polarity because it was at a lower energy. It was supposed to be a place for us to also experience separation, you know, contrast and things like that you can't experience on the higher realms, right? So there was always a possibility that we would fall deep into our ego, right? So she was supposed to be a guardian to kind of help us to not do that. And that's why her dress was attached to the city and why her frequency was constantly being sent out to the city, right? Through her dress, through her crown, through her heels, right? So she knew that there was a potential coming into the role, all right? Before that, she was starbound. She was temple born. She was womb born of the cosmic mother, meaning like she carries the codes of the cosmic mother. Okay. She was born of the rose lineages, okay, of the cosmic womb. And before incarnation, she was a part of a soul stream from the rose lineage, which originated in the central heart of the divine feminine. Frequencies that predated galaxies, often called the Sophianic stream. And she was a radiant flame that expressed through beings like Venetian priestess, Sirian womb keepers, and crystal flame holders. Okay. She was not just created, she was sung, like everything in existence was sung into existence. A vibrational embodiment of remembrance, grace, and flame purity. Okay. She spent lifetimes in Venetian temples. One of her primary homes before Atlantis was the inner spiritual plane of Venus. Again, Venus is not a physical planet, it is a frequency. But she dwelled between the 5D and 9D dimensional frequencies of Venus. Okay. And this was a place that experienced sacred union. It had crystalline music. It was healing through frequency. There were feminine solar priestess lineages, and the original codes of love as law were in this place. Okay, just understand where she comes from. Now, there she served in temples of tone, of water, and of light, and she was preparing to carry the rose flame into denser worlds, meaning like she was trained for this. This was always her destiny. Okay. Now, She was trained not just to heal, but also to hold harmonics of divine memory, even when other people forgot. Okay, when other people fell into distortion, when other people forgot, she was designed to hold more, to remember quicker, to hold memory, to hold the flame. Okay, she did walk in pre-Lumerian Earth. So before Atlantis, Amara briefly touched down in the early golden days of Earth's seeding. Okay, not in full embodiment, but she was like presence through whispers and songs in the world. Like she was present through other beings, but she wasn't here physically, if that makes sense. So some of her earliest interactions were through whales and through the elemental womb waters and through the inner Earth's crystal grid. And she laid codes in certain stones. And remember, stones are crystals, but she laid codes in certain stones in oceans, in wombs to prepare the earth for what was to come. Some of her soul companions from that time actually incarnated as whales and dolphins and trees and priestesses of Mu, because trees are wisdom keepers. They're record keepers, just like crystals. Okay. She was a part of a council of light that helped Earth prepare to host sacred memory. Then she chose Atlantis, okay, because she wanted to be of service. So when Atlantis was forming, Amara received the call, not from a place of status, but of stewardship, okay? So it was like, go to earth, anchor the rose flame, walk among them as one who remembers, teach not by words, but by frequency. And if a fall comes, bury the flame deep within the human heart so that one day they will remember. And that is exactly what she did. That is why she did what she did. So the reason why I want to talk about this first is because when I get to telling y'all what she did, you could be like, why did she do that? It's because they already had a plan. It was already a possibility. The plan was already in place. And she did follow it, even though she was attacked. And there was something called the sacred betrayal and stuff, which is what we'll talk about. 144 on my clock, which is crazy because the 144,000, but confirmation on both ends. But there was already a plan in place, and she did follow the plan. Okay. So she entered through the temple gates, fully aware that she may never return the same way. She knew that there was a possibility that she would be a sacrifice. Okay. She was not random. She was crafted, not in a way like we craft something artificial, though. Like she wasn't like a robot or anything, but in a way that a flame is kindled. So a song is composed or a temple is built from light. Okay. So she was prepared. She was braided with codes. She was soul forged for a sacred mission, and to walk into the world on the edge of forgetting and hold frequency of divine remembrance long enough for others to awaken. Okay. So the truth of the matter is, and the reason why we're talking about this is because many of us were created for the Atlantis experience. Okay. Again, not created like robots or workers or anything like that, but we were designed, we were trained, and we were infused with precise flame frequencies, oversoul functions, and soul contracts. Okay. So each of us brought something vital to Atlantis. Okay. So you have the flame bearers, which are like Amara, and they're keepers of divine memory and spiritual technology. And then you have the grid weavers, and those are those of us who harmonize Earth's ley lines, crystal beds, and magnetic fields. And then you have the time watchers, who are souls who could perceive probability streams and guide humanity's development, which are kind of like the timeline weavers, time watchers. You have the elemental bridgers, and these are those who carry deep connection to Earth's original beings. So whales, water, dragons, and stones, which are crystals. All right. The sound keepers and the temple architects as well, who encoded light codes through music, through symbol, and sacred geometry. Okay. These beings were not above others. They were in service because they remembered what was coming. Okay. So again, we came here with a mission to encode specific things into Earth, kind of manipulate her evolution in a way, but we were meant to encode specific things in case Earth fell into polarity, because that was a real possibility. Okay, so Amara was sent here to hold the flame, in case that happens, so that she could remember when other people would forget. Okay. So the training before Earth, before she came to Earth, or sorry, not her, before these souls came to Earth, right? They were trained in Venetian light temples, and this was for rose flame embodiment, divine love, and sacred union. They were trained in Sirian and Lyran Academies, which was for sacred geometry, crystal science, and harmonic healing. They were trained in Lunar and Solar mystery schools, which was to understand the masculine and feminine polarities in timeline weaving. And then lastly, they were trained in the inner earth schools. And the inner earth schools, the inner earth schools were to teach you how to dream and to move in between lives and through soul journeying. Okay. So let's talk about these separately so you can understand what you've been trained to do. Some of you, not all of you, some of you have been trained to do. And these are the original Atlanteans. All right. So the Venus light temples, this training is a living oversoul imprint encoded in your aura, your heart field, and your dream body. So like I said, Venus is not a planet. It is a living harmonic consciousness, a gateway to the sacred spiral of embodied light. Okay. Meaning like a lot of us came through Venus to get here. We had to. Okay. It's a temple that is made of color and frequency and geometry and radiant love beyond sentience. Okay. And it's also made of absolute attunement to the oversoul through the body. So when I say Venus had temples, they were light temples. They were not made of stone or brick or anything like that. Like these are light temples. Okay. So there were 3 orders that train people in Venus. So there is the Rose Order, and this is training of the heart flame and the sovereign love. This is working with the magnetic field of love as a healing and harmonizing force, learning to hold presence so refined that it melts distortion without conflict, right? Because you going in because you know that we're going to fall, and that is a great potential. So you need to be trained for that fall, because they prepared for this before it happened, right? Okay, so you were prepared before it happened, right? So remembering how to love without attachment, rescue, or identity collapse. Those people who become their relationship, abandon all their friends, and then come back knocking on your door when it falls apart. Yeah, that's distortion. Okay. You're not also those people who find people who need love instead of people who can actually receive love. Those projects. Okay. And then people who have anxious attachment styles, or people who have attachment styles in general, people who can't let stuff go. That makes me think of those women who stay in the relationships, even though they being dogged. Okay. As a former one of those women, I'm just saying. So in this rose order, there was rose light frequency, which was soft, but it was immovable. Okay. They also did rituals, which included silence and breath and touch, anointing, and frequency singing. Okay. You are likely to carry this order in how you hold space for other people, how you speak truth with grace, and how you disarm control fields with love that does not bow to other people. Okay. Then you have the crystal flame order, which is the training of the etheric body, the light structures, and the soul embodiment. And this was learning to structure light in the field. So grid light shields, soul scaffolding, working with color rays and geometric transmission codes, training in dream weaving, memory restoration, and cellular harmonics, emphasis on sovereignty through subtle mastery, often linked to sound tones, crystal matrices, and starlight corridors. And if you've ever been to a starlight corridor, it's kind of like a long hallway, and the above is kind of cut out. So you can kind of see the stars from above, but on the walls, it's like these glyphs or like these symbols. So anyways, that's what they look like if you ever end up in one of them. You likely use this when doing invisible grid work, dream translation, or clearing entanglements just by presence. And then the last one that you're trained through Venus is the Swan Gate Order. And the Swan Gate Order is the training of soul residents in deathless light. So it's the rarest and most advanced order. It's learning to merge with Oversoul while remaining fully embodied. It's training in death passage guidance, soul retrieval, and flame resurrection. And it's associated with white gold or iridescent light. Okay. And again, I went over all the light colors in my protection course. So that's there. And this may explain your deep resonance, if you have one, with immortality, with soul return, and with flame-based transformation through presence. Okay. Now, in Venus, you were trained through dream initiations in the Temple of Soft Flame, frequency tuning being via color light grids woven through your field, presence training, where entire lessons occurred in complete silence, service vows that return and anchor these harmonics on Earth, meaning like you were meant to come and return to Earth and anchor these harmonics into Earth's field. And then also, and that happens through voice, through gaze, through ritual, through space holding, and through choice as well. And a lot of people left Venus with a seal. So it's a glyph or a spiral embedded in your light body, which activates when you're doing sacred service. Okay. So that's Venus, the Venus light temples. Okay. Some people also came through the Sirian and Lyran Academies. And we're going to talk about the Lyran Academy first. Hold on. But what you should know is that the Sirian Academy is older than Lyra and more technical than Venus. Okay. It's kind of interwoven into Earth's most sacred temples. Hold on. Let me put this candle out. Okay. So the Lyra Academy is the school of flame expression, of cosmic memory, and soul radiance. Lyra is both a star system and a soul civilization. One of the original seeding races of Earth. They're the keepers of the gold flame of divine expression. Okay. So their training focused on soul memory retrieval and ancestral tone anchoring, sacred expression. So voice, frequency writing, movement, and light translation. I don't know if I told y'all this, but I told y'all about the tattoo on my back that says sometimes you have to fall before you fly. And I just knew to write over it in gold light. Yeah. Don't know why I did that. I just do stuff sometimes. And anyways, oversoul integration into form, creative sovereignty, which is how you manifest without mimicry, and then working with sacred emotions as a flame source, not something to suppress. Okay. So the key principles of Lyra are: your soul sound is the blueprint of new worlds. Speak from flame and not fear. That's what Lyra was trying to teach us. Okay. So if you went through the Lyran schools, you were trained in dream projection, you were trained in tone weaving, you were trained in language of light, which is both visual and vibrational. And I don't know if you know this, but you can visualize something red in your head and then you start to vibrate at the frequency of red. It's like frequency tuning, right? Building soul temples through creative output, which is art and song and ritual and presence. And Lyra was heart radiant. It was emotionally intelligent and it was fiercely beautiful. Okay. It's why many of us are drawn to divine expression, and why divine expression feels like home. Okay. The Sirian Academy is the school of sacred architecture, of star memory encoding, and of dimensional gateways. So Sirius, especially Sirius B, is one of the original oversoul harmonic bridges between Earth and the stars. It is the home of water light codes, temple geometry, and a crystalline sound scaffolding. Sirian training focused on temple architecture of light, which is building soul structures within and around the planet, crafting frequency temples, which are resonance based. learning how to embed sacred geometry into Earth's body via grid, sound, movement, and placement. Because remember, dancing is not just a form of entertainment, it calls down energy. Okay. Dimensional gatekeeping as well, which is managing portal flow between dimensions, protecting gateways from interference, knowing when and how to close as well as open stargates, and working with sacred time folds, memory corridors, and timeline stabilizers. Okay. Soul encodement and guardianship also comes through Sirius as well, which is carrying crystal encoded messages through your body or your light field, serving as a light living glyph, or using sound, water, and crystal harmonics to activate remembrance. And then the last thing from Sirius is sovereign tech. And sovereign tech is being able to wield true spiritual technology, which is light, sound, and thought forms, geometry without corruption, understanding how ancient tech, so crystal beds, tone chambers, dream chambers, were powered by intent and tone of the user. And the core principle for Sirius is to build the unseen with precision so the visible becomes sacred. Okay, because everything happens in the spirit before it happens in the physical. Okay, and that we learned that through Sirian training. Okay, so many people who have been trained through Sirius feel the urge to rearrange spaces without knowing why. They write or speak in glyphs. They harmonize distorted atmospheres. They dream of chambers, of domes, or of ancient light technology. And they feel called to Egypt, the ocean, and spiral time. Okay. If Lyra trains your expression, Sirius trains your precision in that expression. Okay. Next, you have the Solar and the Lunar Mystery Schools. Okay. And these, we talked about the solar and lunar flame lineages, right? Or soul lineages. Okay. Flame lineages, soul lineages, same thing. There's also temples that go along with that. Okay. So a frequency of sacred the frequency of sacred training that wove divine consciousness into form. Many flame bearers walk both paths over multiple incarnations, although in this path, you're probably going to have a dominant one. The Solar Mystery School. Actually, before I get into that, let me tell y'all real quick, a quick story. So I was doing a reading for somebody yesterday, and she asked me to tap into a previous lifetime. I tapped into a previous lifetime, and I got that she was a midwife and she was a wet nurse. And she was like, oh, that's crazy. I wanted to be an OBGYN in this lifetime. Like, I just felt pulled to it, but my parents wanted something different, so I chose something different. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a memory from a past life, because I have you as like a midwife or like a wet nurse. And so we were talking about that. And so she was asking me about past timelines. So I looked to see if I could look into another past timeline. And I did. And it was during a time where there was a war going on. Okay. And she was on some Mulan shit. And what I mean by that is I was picking up on a male's energy. But when I looked at this person, it physically looked like a woman. Okay. So I kept hearing trans woman. And I'm like, a trans woman? Like, when was this? Because this felt like when they was drafting people for a war, right? And so instead of being a soldier in the war, she posed as a woman, and she looked like a woman because she had a very skinny, like frail shape. And she ended up being a nurse in the war. And like one of her fingers on her left hand was missing or something like that. Which was thought was a weird thing. I don't know if she did that herself or so she wouldn't have to go to war or whatever it is. But she was a nurse in a war, but she was actually a trans woman. It was like she was, I don't know. So Spirit was like, "Are you shocked?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because I didn't necessarily know that trans people existed that far back, but apparently they do. Apparently they've always been like that, and that gender is supposed to be fluid. It's not there are some people who have non-binary souls, which I think is crazy. Not crazy, but like, we don't talk about that. So some people have non-binary souls, meaning that they're not more masculine, like masculine or feminine. They're non-binary, So I thought that was interesting. And I knew that they existed because in one of my I had a vision, and I was being taken to an ancestor, and we was going down this little really, really dark place. And I looked over, and the spirit guide that was with me was this beautiful trans woman, like gorgeous. If I had to compare her to somebody, it would be the trans woman that's on Grownish. Like, that's how beautiful she was. And I was like, what the hell? They was driving like a bat out of hell. So I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't really look at her too long, because I'm like, girl, if you don't get a control of this motherfucking car, I don't even know where we're going. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting, right? So the reason why I'm telling you that is because some people have incarnations as women, and some people have incarnations as men. Just because you're a woman in this lifetime don't mean you wasn't a man in the last lifetime. Okay, you usually have a dominant energy that you prefer, but some people are born even in this lifetime as a woman, but they're 50-50 when it comes energy wise. It's about the energy in the body, not the actual vessel. Okay, so just want to put that out there. So the solar mystery schools are the path of radiant authority, divine will, and oversoul light embodiment. Okay, so the solar path teaches you how to become a living sun. Okay, it's a sovereign being whose very presence illuminates, activates, and purifies. Okay, so the core teachings of the solar mystery schools is going to be flame sovereignty, which is aligning your will with divine design. It's clarity and illumination, which is piercing through illusions with truth, because the solar flame or the masculine flame is about truth. It's about clarity. Okay, it's like a sword. It cuts. It's truth. Okay. Sacred power, which is using fire wisely, never to dominate, but to refine things. Okay. And then spiritual kingship or queenship, which is embodied leadership rooted in service to other people. And then solar breath work and fire rites, which is to burn through the shadow with compassion. Okay. The key associations with this solar mystery school is oversoul descent, embodiment of soul mission, leadership, transmission, and presence, sun temples, golden flame, and the helical rites. Okay. So what the solar school is supposed to be teaching you is to speak as one whose breath is firelight, act as one whose gaze purifies. And that makes me think of, like, you know how the mamas look at you sometimes, like with, like, you already know, like, I'm not about to, like, okay. Anyways, I'm not about to play with you. I appreciate my life. Solar initiates often incarnate as guides, as activators, as protectors, and leaders, whether visible or behind the veil. A lot of times I will see solar energy in women who speak up about abuse and they don't back down, especially Sagittarius women. That is solar energy if I've ever seen it in my life. Okay. Next, you have the lunar mystery schools, and it's the path of inner knowing, of womb wisdom, and of dream magic. The lunar path teaches you how to become a living moon. So it's a being who mirrors other people, who nurtures, who dreams, and who reveals the unseen. Okay. Core teachings in the lunar mystery school is emotional alchemy, which is the transmutation through feeling, and shadow work. So I show you guys often the emotional vibrational scale and how you can use that to attract things into your life or repel things into your life. That is emotional alchemy. Okay. Also shadow work, dream walking, and visioning, which is accessing messages through altered states of consciousness. Intuitive magic, which is moon blood rites, water scrying, and energetic readings, so psychic readings, things like that. Womb temple, which is working with the cyclical energy, rebirth, and prophecy, because prophecy comes through the womb. And then silence and mystery, which is teaching through presence, magnetism, and dream. The key associations with the lunar mystery schools are the dream realm and water memory, feminine flame wisdom, temple guardianship, and prophecy, and then the silver flame, crystal bowls, and lunar gateways, because crystal bowls are lunar technology. Okay. So the main purpose or goal or core mission of the lunar flame schools is to get you to feel as one who dreams the earth awake and speak as one who midwives stars. Okay. Lunar initiates often incarnate as oracles, which is crazy because I had another reading last week and Spirit kept saying she's an oracle. She's an oracle. And I'm like, how is that different from anything else? And I had to look it up. So some of y'all are oracles, some of y'all are dream keepers, healers, and protectors of hidden flame. Okay. And then the last training that we go through is in inner earth temples. And these are inner earth temples are physical and multidimensional, where souls train, heal, or recalibrate. So people can go to the inner earth schools before they incarnate, during incarnation, and in between lives as well. Okay. They are temples of wisdom. They're hidden in the crystalline heart of Gaia, held in love and protection by ancient beings who've never forgotten the original light. A lot of the beings from Lemuria actually went to inner earth when Lemuria's fall started happening. So what are the inner earth schools? These are sacred sanctuaries located in inner earth, which is either Agartha, Shambhala, Telos, and then there's also other ones as well, but also within frequency pockets inside of mountains, ocean caverns, crystalline vaults, and interdimensional zones that connect to Gaia's core. They are not accessed through roads or maps or anything like that. They're reached through soul agreement, through frequency matching, through dream time initiation, meaning sometimes you have to be initiated into some of these schools, or a conscious calling of the heart. Many souls go there during astral travel, lucid dreaming, deep healing journeys, or before incarnating onto Earth. And they were created to preserve sacred knowledge that would be lost on the surface, help heal trauma of incarnation, meaning like birthing trauma. There's a lot of birthing trauma that happens, which can affect you energetically, because birthing is like a traumatic thing based on the way that they do it. If they just put you in the water with the dolphins, you won't even have no pain. You can come in at peace, but they don't want to do that because they don't even want you talking to the dolphins. And it's a reason why. Okay. So they train flame holders, soul guides, and crystalline grid workers. They hold the vibration of the original divine design. They prepare souls for service in shifting timelines. And they, it's not like a classroom type of setting. It's like a soul temple. Okay. Frequency libraries as well. And voice sanctuaries, womb vaults. Sorry, my eye is burning. Okay, so type of inner earth schools. Oh, y'all got me messed up. Hold on, y'all. It's a little smoky in here. I love and appreciate you back. Okay, so the type of inner earth schools are the Temple of the Rose Flame, which is beneath the Himalayan mountains. You can't physically go there. You have to meet the resonance. Okay. It holds codes of divine feminine remembrance. It reawakens soul song, sacred sensuality, and flame alignments. It's connected to the Venetian and Atlantean frequencies. Okay. Then you have the crystal vaults of Telos, which is beneath Mount Shasta. These teach crystal healing, grid work, and DNA recalibration. They are home to Lemurian elders and light teachers, and they're deeply aligned with sovereignty, joy, and remembrance through love. Then you have the Library of Light, which is in inner Agartha's core, and is a multidimensional archive of soul records, star maps, Atlantean scrolls, and forgotten language, taught by beings of pure light geometry, where many flame holders go between incarnations to review missions. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Okay. I'm trying not to cry on screen because why am I even crying? What is going on? It's my eyes is burning though, and it's probably because I had that incense going and the candle going, and just too much. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm back. The Serpent School of Sacred Spine, which is under South America, and this teaches Kundalini alignment, body activation, serpent path awakening. It works with the Andean earth spirits, the dragon codes, and the crystal spine gates. You have the Blue Flame School, which is near the poles, and this is connected to beings from Sirius B and the original water consciousness. It teaches sound travel, portal guarding, and the art of silent command. It's held in ice and frequency, not entered through body, but through will. And how you will know if you've been to any of these temples is that you might dream of tunnels or temples or waterfalls inside of Earth. You wake with new information, light language, or inner clarity. You feel deeply at home near mountains, caves, or certain crystals. You know things you have never studied, especially about Atlantis, Lemuria, or soul work memory. You feel called to guide, protect, or awaken others with no idea how you know. And a lot of that is happening because you remember you were trained and now you're returning not as the student, but as the anchor, meaning like you're putting your training to work. All right. So by the time we arrived in Atlantis, we already knew what we carried and we already knew that it might be buried. Okay. So we were prepared. We have the technology, we have the experience. We just have not remembered. Hey, Hydra. We just have not remembered. Thank you, Spiritual Key. Hug to you too. Okay. So it's in you. It's not on you. It's in you. It's not on you, which means you need to go in. You need to go in. Okay. Now, there were also humans who existed during Atlantis, but they're not like humans like we know humans to be today. Okay. You have the Earth native humans, which are the original template. Okay. These are souls birthed from Gaia herself. So that could be the water people, the land people, the elementals, the animal lineages. Okay. These beings were deeply connected to nature, to the dream realm, and to living Earth. Thanks, Boo. You could think of them as true Earth seeds. And they were rootstocks of indigenous wisdom. Okay. These humans lived in harmony with Earth and chose not to integrate into Atlantean culture. They lived in the lands that would become Africa, Asia, the Americans, and the Arctic Rim. Okay. And they remembered Earth as mother, not as a system. So when Atlantis came, they decided to go their own way. So they did not integrate into society in Atlantis. And remember, Atlantis was not the whole world. There were specific places where Atlantis had anchors. Okay. It went across 5 harmonics, but not all of them were land-based. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. Okay. There were also the Starseed hybrids, which were Atlantean soul family. These were souls from Sirius, from Lyra, from Andromeda, from Pleiades and Venus, who either incarnated directly or merged with Earth's lineage. Okay. Meaning that they were not seated for Atlantis. They just decided to incarnate directly from the star systems. Okay. Their bodies looked human, but their consciousness held interstellar memory. Okay. They often lived within Atlantean structures and served as temple initiates, as healers, as architects, or as flame holders. Okay. These are beings. These beings were often associated with Amara and Thoth or the crystal priesthood. So they were soul family, but they did not come to Atlantis for Atlantis. They were not seated for Atlantis. They just decided to say, oh, that seems like a cool place to be. Let me move there. It's like moving from California to Texas, but you're not a Texan. You weren't already in Texas. You're from California. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So but there were also experimentation lines as well, who were basically genetic projects. And this came later in Atlantis. And these were the Anunnaki influenced beings, and they were part of early DNA intervention programs. Some of these merged with early human lines, altering lifespans, memory, and polarity balance. But this wasn't inherently evil when it started, it wasn't inherently evil overall, but it did lead to imbalances, especially when sovereignty was removed from the genetic field. Because I'm going to explain to y'all what they did with white skin, not all white skin folk, but with some white skin folk. Because when they removed the sovereignty, a lot of these beings were not connected to Earth's heart, and they were not connected to an oversoul stream, which means that they didn't give a fuck about them because they were not a part of them. So yeah, it's almost like you seeing your friend struggling. Say you come from an environment that's not privileged, but you have a privileged friend, and you seeing, the privileged friend struggle, but you can't resonate with them because you didn't come from a privileged experience. It's like that, kind of. That's how they feel about Earth. That's how they feel about certain things, our plight in general, because they're not connected to the same thing that we connect to. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that in a second. But this is one of the reasons that Atlantis fell, because there were too much manipulation and not enough reverence. Okay, so let's talk about the Anunnaki real quick. And I've talked about them before in other lives, but yeah. So the Anunnaki were real, but they were also archetypal in a way, and often misunderstood, meaning like we've been given a lot of misinformation about, yes, exactly. Given a lot of information about Anunnakis, but we don't understand the full picture. So I just kind of want to run it back real quick. They were and are still beings and energies, because they're both. They're not just a being or an energy. They're both a being and an energy. Okay. Depending on how you're going to see the Anunnaki is depending on the dimension from which you are perceiving them. Okay, that's why they were perceived as gods to humans, because they're perceiving them from a lower dimension, from a lower density. Okay, so who are the Anunnaki? The word Anunnaki comes from ancient Sumeria, and it's the Anana, which means those who came down from heaven. Okay, they were star beings from advanced lineages, primarily from the Nibiru system, but with branches from Orion, from Sirius B, and Lyra. Okay, they were genetic architects involved in early Earth DNA seeding and experimentation, but they were not a single race. They're more like a council of various interstellar beings. So some of them aligned with unity and evolution, and others of them align with control and hierarchy. Okay. But they were not gods. Now, they were perceived as gods to the early humans because of their stature, their power, and their technology, but they were not actual gods. Okay. So their role in Atlantis came later in Atlantis. Okay. But I feel like we need to talk about these because I'm talking about us and how we were seated. So I need to give my other viewers the other side of things as well. Okay. So they were not a part of Atlantis in Atlantis's golden age. All right. Which spanned 10,000 to 15,000 years. They became deeply involved during the later periods. And this is when Atlantean frequency started to fall. Okay. So some of their key roles were DNA manipulation. So certain Anunnaki factions believed that Earth beings were unfinished, and they interfered with genetic coding, which affected memory, and it affected lifespan, because the lifespan used to be 120 years or something like that. And now it's like 80, 70. But they affected their lifespan and also spiritual potential, meaning like they limited them. Okay. This led to the creation of hierarchical priesthoods, bloodline programming, and control systems. Okay. They also introduced kingship templates, and these are the kings and queens. Okay. So they seeded ideas of divine rights to rule, which began the distortion of sovereignty into domination. Okay. This was the birth of the God King system that later appeared in Sumer in Babylon and in Egypt. Okay. They also hijacked stargates and power nodes. So some Anunnaki factions worked to control Earth's crystal grid, and they repurposed pyramid technology and created false stargates or artificial time loops. Okay. And they chose intervention, not creation, meaning like they did not create the early humans. They intervened with them, like they modified them. Okay. So this intervention was both technological but also karmic because it created a deep fracture in the collective consciousness. Right. Not all of them were bad, though. The Anunnaki are a polarized race, which means that they have both benevolent and distorted factions, just like humans have both benevolent and distorted factions. Okay. Just like star beings have benevolent and distorted factions. Okay. So they're not all bad. Some came to preserve knowledge and serve as genetic stewards and act as bridges between the stars and Earth. Others fell into control-based consciousness, seeking to use Earth for her resources, both physically and energetically. Because I don't know if you heard anything about Nibiru, but it was leaking energy, and they were basically going to freeze to death on the planet if they did not find a way to fix their atmosphere. So gold actually can be alchemized to fix their atmosphere. And what they do is kind of spray it in the atmosphere or spray it in the sky like we would do chemtrails. That's actually where we got the chemtrail technology. But you spray it in the sky and it plugs the holes in the atmosphere so that the heat can stay in. So we had a lot of gold on Earth. So a lot of them were doing mining operations in Africa and ancient Mesopotamia. Okay. So they wanted to use Earth for her resources. Many of these beings still exist today, although not in the form that we imagine them to be. And some of them work through bloodlines and others through etheric influences. And some have been redeemed. Some have been redeeming influence and integrating into higher councils. All right. Which means they're very much so still around, and the bodies that they made, they control. Okay. So the reason why we're talking about this now is because many of us made vows to undo, restore, or repair what was distorted. And this is a part of that. Okay. So not every soul on Earth, though, is from Atlantis, because Earth is the host of soul diversity with lineages stretching across galaxies, realms, timelines, in our own original womb. So many souls currently incarnated, especially those awakening now, do carry Atlantean oversouls. And this, again, includes the flame holders, the crystal code carriers, the temple priests and priestesses, the grid workers, and the timeline weavers. Okay. And they are here to restore what was lost, heal what went wrong, anchor the golden frequency that existed before the fall, because Atlantis was a golden society. The golden frequency was what everybody existed at. And complete soul contracts that began long ago. Okay. And that's why a lot of our kids are born the golden children. Okay. That's why they is after the golden children, because they anchor in Atlantean frequency. All right. But not everybody was of Atlantis. Okay. Or passed through Atlantis, which I explained to you the ones before. So we have Lumerians, who are even older than Atlantis, rooted in divine union, water, and heart consciousness. We have the Sirians, the Lyras, the Vegas, the Pleiades, the Venus people, the Sirians, all of them. Those are the ones who came. Either they're living with us directly or they are in inner Earth. And then we have the Earth-born souls, okay, which are the elementals, the serpentine lines, the inner Earth tribes, the animals, the octopus, whatever. All right. Now, let's talk about white skin folks. Okay. They came a little bit later. But white skin folks, in order for us to talk about them, we got to talk about the timeline. Okay. So in ancient spiritual records, oral, indigenous, and esoteric, humanity originally arose from a deep fusion of earth-born beings, which are the elemental starseeds, ancient ones, and star ancestors, which are Sirians, Lyrans, Pleiadians, and other star systems. Okay. So, all right, the earliest Earth humans were melanated, which means they were rich in melanin. They had deep Earth DNA, and they were highly light absorbent and light transmitters. Okay, so they transmitted light, but they also absorbed light. And that's why I always say that human design is important, because it tells you where you transmit energy and where you absorb energy. Okay. It's a soul technology to tell you how your oversoul embodied in this incarnation. That is why human design is important, because if you know that, you know how to handle yourself. Okay. Their bodies were designed to channel high frequencies, withstand the intense radiation of earlier sun, and interface clearly with Earth's powerful grid. Okay, melanin is a spiritual conductor. It is not a skin pigment. Even though it pigments our skin, it is a spiritual conductor. Okay, over time, genetic engineering events took place, and different races intervened, some with positive intention and some with control or experimentation. The Anunnaki altered genetic templates of existing humans for specific purposes, like labor, for psychic dampening, and controllability. Okay, but please understand, their intervention did not create humans. It altered a strain of the human race. Okay. And this is where white skinned folks come from. Okay. Now, white skinned humans did not exist in the original Earth human blueprint. Okay. They did not exist in that. They were created later on. Okay, after people were already here. Okay, their emergence appeared to be tied to a combination of genetic mixing between Earth humans and certain off-world groups that included not only the Anunnaki, but also the Orion races as well. And there were also other ones. Environmental adaptation as well, because later some of us migrated to colder, less UV intense regions, and we started to lose pigmentation. And then deliberate genetic dilution of melanin and other spiritual physical properties to create more easily programmable bodies for certain star agendas. Okay, so you can find this in the mystery schools. Some white lineages were seeded with different energetic structures. They were designed to be more mental and less heart-solar fusion. We are heart-solar fusion. They were designed to be more mental, okay? Your mind is your ego, okay? It's what is developed in your sacral chakra. When you start realizing that other people exist in this world outside of you, is meant to help you to survive, okay? They wanted them to be more survival instinct than heart instinct, heart-centered. Okay. Some were meant to be neutral or bridges between worlds. Okay. So some of them were just meant to be soul bridges. All right. Some were genetically altered to serve, control, and redirect energy's flow away from Earth's original organic grid. So they were trying to affect the collective energy. Okay. Some carry latent crystal codes that are not fully activated. Okay. Some have weaker crystalline matrices and stronger mental matrix overlays. And some were engineered to serve roles of stewardship, but they fell into roles of domination, of colonization, of manipulation, because their connection to Earth's heart is weakened. Now, not all white-skinned folks are a product of some evil experiment, okay? But the energetic structure of certain bloodlines do carry specific distortions or programmability related to these ancient interventions, okay? So there are the original humans, who were the highly melanated, earth-aligned, star-born, crystalline-coded beings, okay? Then there was Anunnaki interference, which altered some humans for servitude and control. Okay. The white skin group emerged partly through genetic blending, engineering, and environmental shifts. Okay. There are a couple different white skin folk, though. There are white body beings with star-seeded crystalline souls, meaning they carry pure oversoul light. Some of them carry pure oversoul light. They were incarnated into altered vessels for planetary healing and grid work. Okay. Then there are white-skinned people with distorted genetic programming. These operate heavily through mind separation and domination programming. Then there are white beings asleep to their true origin, caught between earth and star memories, needing deep awakening to remember their role. So the spiritual purpose of them is to carry bridge codes. Some carry distortion codes, and some carry memory codes. So not all of them are control domination. Okay? Because it was a lot of people trying to create bodies that their soul lineages can incarnate into. Okay? Because it requires a specific vessel. The vessel has to be able to hold a specific amount of light. Okay? So, what y'all need to understand is not all skin folk are kin folk. Okay? And not all people we perceive to be ops are actually ops. Right? It's not about skin alone. It's about the soul code that is inside of the vessel. Okay? So some white body beings carry deeply pure starseed souls. Some black or brown bodies carry distortion and inverted programming. Not all skin folk or kin folk. Okay? It's soul allegiance, not the flesh. And that reveals the true being. But facts are facts, and melanin carries spiritual memory and power that cannot be replicated. And many of these different star being lineages have intervened to try to mimic or to bypass it, and they have failed. Okay? Once some of the Anunnaki fell into distortion, they were trying to create a lineage that was designed to be ruled rather than sovereign. They wanted them to be able to be ruled instead of being sovereign. Okay, so some white-skinned folks are products of star hybridization and energetic alteration, but the vessel was modified, not the spirit that entered the body. So some do carry true light, but they chose difficult incarnations because they decided to incarnate into these distorted lines so that they can reclaim and transmute ancestral trauma. Because you remember what I said, regardless, we got crystalline DNA. So if somebody in that lineage decides to do something different, you change the structure and it ripples across the entire DNA structure. So everything that you heal, the next generation don't have to deal with that, and so on and so forth, and all of the things. So there are some white body beings who choose to go into these distorted ass families because they have the right vessel to do so, but they have the right soul in the vessel so that they can transmute some of this energy. Okay, so some of them are on the right side. Okay, just got to throw that out there. Right? Others operate under the old false superiority program, which was seeded by those who fell out of soul alignment. Okay, so this is why frequency is so important, because energy does not lie. Okay. All skin folks are not kin folk. All white folks are not controlled beings. Those of them who are willing to learn and who are willing to change and who are willing to speak up deserve a little bit more grace. I know it's hard because I always think about what Muhammad Ali said. Well, I can't tell which one of y'all it is, so I'm just going to guess that it's all of y'all. I mean, that's justified. That's valid, you know? But I hope this helps to help you to fully understand what's actually going on though, okay? Some of them are here to go into these families to restore, to heal, and to repair these broken matrices. Okay, so the ancient memory must be restored, not just through race, but through soul recognition, through crystalline reactivation, through remembrance of original Earth covenant, which means that somebody has to go in there and change it. Now, let's talk about the families that you are born into. Okay, as a mixed baby, I appreciate this breakdown. I'm a mixed baby too. My grandmother, I have a white grandmother, and then I have 3 black grandparents. Okay, that's why I said stuck in between cultures. Now my grandmother would never. The things that she did not allow us to say specific things in her house. She has been a certain way my entire life. I've never seen her act any different, you know? And so I got lucky. Okay. So back to what I was saying. the family that you were born into. Okay? You were born into this life, the family you are born into in this life is not always about love and ease and similarity. Now, the reason why I need to say that is because I was one of those kids who sometimes would be looking around and be like, well, if this is what I come from, this must be what I am. You cannot think like that. You cannot think like that. Because I feel like a lot of us will try really hard not to be our mama or try really hard not to be our daddies, whatever the case may be, right? But if you focus on what you don't want instead of what you actually do want, the things that you're trying to change, would you focus on what you don't want? I don't want to be like my mama instead of what you actually do want. You end up becoming that thing. Okay? So let me just say that. So it's not about love, it's not about ease, and it's not about similarity, okay? It is often about frequency alignment, soul contracts, karmic clearing, and mission precision, okay? So yes, high frequency souls often choose to be born into dysfunctional or toxic family systems on purpose. Don't shoot the messenger. Why? Because they carry the codes to break ancestral loops, to shift timelines, and to anchor a new harmonic into a line that's been locked into distortion for generations. Remember, I told you, Amara hid the codes in distorted lines. Okay? So a lot of times, especially manifesting generators, y'all don't understand. Y'all are the most capable and the fastest working energy. A lot of times I'll see y'all in very, very toxic families. And the reason being is that your energy is the most capable. It's designed to push through where most people energy would give up. It's designed to initiate and finish. You like a one-stop fucking shop. Okay? You were built for this. You were absolutely built for it. You are the most capable energy. Now, generators as well, we get the toxic but semi-toxic, but manifesting generators get ran through the fucking ringer sometimes. And it's because your energy is fully capable. You knew that you could do this. You knew it. Okay? Now, where was I at? Now, your family of origin is not always your soul family. Okay? So you may be born into families that don't see you, a lineage that carries deep trauma or toxicity, or a cultural, energetic system that feels alien to your essence. Okay? But you still chose them. And I'm talking to white skinned folks when I say that. A cultural, energetic system that feels alien to your essence. Okay? Because I feel like gingers feel like that a lot of times. And so they say gingers are black people. I hate to call them gingers, red-haired people. Because I don't know if that's offensive. Right? So sometimes you are born into those systems, but you chose them. Okay. And it was not punishment. You said, I can hold the flame here. I can remember in the dark, and I can restore the sacred to this soil. Okay. You knew that you could do it. You chose it. You said yes. Okay. But remember, I said we did not choose distortion, but some of us came here with a mission to flip this around, to shift the timeline. Okay. So higher vibrational souls often incarnate into dysfunctional situations to transmute it. And these souls often awaken early or feel like outsiders from childhood, the black sheep. They experience deep emotional or psychic sensitivity. They carry natural gifts that the family may fear, mock, or suppress. And they are first line to breaking the pattern, to name the trauma, or to walk a different path. Now, this sacred work is lonely. You knew it was going to be lonely before you got here, but this sacred work is lonely. And we're going to talk about Amara's sacred loneliness next time, because as above, so below, I like you to see both sides of it, But it is a lonely path, but it is incredibly powerful. It is an incredibly powerful path to take. Okay? Sometimes you're planted into these lineages to seed light. Okay? You are not a mistake. You are a frequency insertion and a soul envoy placed into timelines like a crystal dropped into murky water, like a song sung into a silent room, like a flame held in the middle of a collapsing grid, because that is what you are. They're about to fall completely into distortion. You come in and you hold the fucking flame. You keep them afloat. You stop the grid from collapsing. Okay? And simply by you being there, feeling, choosing things differently, not forgetting, you change the vibration of that lineage. The entire lineage. One person is all it takes. One person. That's what I say. They don't want to have one person wake up, because it's the ripple effect. Absolutely. It takes one person to decide to do something differently. Okay? And some of your ancestors weep with joy when you speak your truth, and others are going to resist the light. But regardless of how they feel about it, you are a turning point that they did not know that they were praying for. Okay? So the soul chooses function, not convenience. It does not choose convenience. It chooses function. So you may come through a womb that has trauma. I came through a womb that has trauma. You may come through a bloodline with secrets, or a culture with dissonance. But you are still the medicine in that environment. You are the medicine. You just needed to be born. You have everything that you need. You already was trained before you got here. You just have to remember. So now you got to figure out why you came here. How do you do that? Well, you pay attention to how things make you feel. If it makes you feel good, move towards it. That is telling you this is the way. This is the path. Move away and radically say no to the things that don't make you feel good, because your emotions is your soul communicating to you. It's the water in your body, which is intelligence, telling you, no, we don't like, no, this is the wrong way. It's like hot and cold. You're getting hot when you feel good. You're getting cold or stagnant when it doesn't feel good. Literally. Literally. So you only should be doing things that light your soul on fire. Why? Because that is getting you closer to what you came here to do. Everything else is a no. Everything else is a no. Some of us, our soul be fucking screaming. 1:44 on the clock. Our soul be fucking screaming. And we stay in the environment anyways. Why? Because we think it's comfortable, it's convenient. You didn't come here for that. Go do what you actually want to do, because that is what gets you closer to your path. You have to be experiencing joy. Joy is a sacred force that weaves light back into distortion. It collapses their entire shit. You experiencing joy, and that's why they always trying to snuff out your fucking joy. Go do what makes you happy. If the job isn't working, quit that bitch. You'll be supported in it, because now you're going towards alignment. Alignment allows you to attract. Is when you do the opposite, when you operating in fear and you think about all the things that can go wrong, when you start to repel the things that you're actually trying to get. You have to say, fuck it, let's see where it goes. I'll figure it out as I go. And stay focused on what you want to do. Get rid of the fear, because fear is false evidence appearing real. It is the illusion. It is the illusion. And you're not even a fear-based person. Fear is the energy they need you into so that they can feed off your emotional energy. Fear does you no good. Fear dims the flame. You're supposed to be holding the flame steady. But if you're not living the life that you don't want to, that you actually want to live, you're not holding the flame steady. You're not. That's why you can't please nobody. This life is about you. You cannot please anybody else. You need to be pleasing yourself. And that's how you get on the journey. It is very simple. We make it hard because we refuse to let things go. We refuse to detach from things that are harming us. I don't care if it's your mama. I don't care if it's your brother. They got to go. The reason why I'm telling you this today is because sometimes you are born into these families And they're not your soul family. You are there to do a job. Okay? So you are not your blood. You are your soul lineage. And you came to reseed earth with the original light that's been waiting for a vessel like you to be able to hold that amount of light. Okay? Souls are placed where they are needed most. And sometimes they carry healing vibrations that a family system needs to survive. You know, that cousin who's always coming over and cracking jokes and making everybody feel good. And we just left a funeral, right? The one who's keeping the vibes up, the one that's hosting the cookout. And it don't look perfect. Let me be clear. It does not look perfect because none of us are perfect. None of us came here to be perfect. We fell into distortion, which means we got a little bit of distortion up in us sometimes. You know, I know the hell I do. I spazzed out on somebody earlier this week. You know, it doesn't look perfect. Some of us are a mirror to trigger other people into their awakening. So not everybody you dated was a horrible person. Some of them came in because you refused to see the value in yourself. So they came in and met you exactly where the fuck you was. Peekaboo. Now look at you. Now you got no other choice but to change. That's what I did. I took the death row contract. I took the hardest way possible. I refused to see my own value. I refused. Now, I'm a very dedicated and determined person, but I didn't think I'd be determined about that. But I did. I was. So what? Sue me. I'm a lover. But it took me doing it the wrong way because, like I said, we learned through contrast for me to see the right way. And that's why you got to forgive yourself because you don't know until you know. Sometimes you got to see that shit through so you can be like, okay, yeah, never this again. That's why you got to forgive yourself because you cannot change the past. You only can be bit different and better for the future. Why focus on what's been done? You have no control there. You only have control over what you do moving forward. I was my own op. Now I'm not. Maybe had I not been my own op, maybe I wouldn't be here teaching y'all. That's my truth. Okay? Some of y'all are pattern breakers, energy that was meant to cause upheaval, but it leads you towards freedom. Now, my mama, she's a pattern breaker. She don't give a fuck, but in the best way. She's always on the right side of history, but she'll burn all this shit down if she got to. She's justified. Now, that is the solar flame operating out of alignment. But it leads to change. Okay? Because I bet you they watched it. They watched it around her. You know? Now, let me be clear, though. This doesn't make your pain or your trauma in that experience okay. As a person who has been through my own pain and trauma and just feels things really deeply, very intensely, don't know how to turn it off, very ghetto, wouldn't recommend. It doesn't negate your pain. Okay, your pain is still very real, but pain is a catalyst to change. Pain is a catalyst to awakening, which is what we talked about when we talked about the bloodlines. Okay, so your presence itself is a holy thing. Okay. Now, why are we talking about this? Two realities are unfolding right now. Okay. Like I said at the beginning, Earth is moving into divinity. So that means that the original Earth grid, which we call Gaia Sophia or 5D Earth, okay, is returning to its organic crystalline blueprint. And that's a blueprint of unity, of sovereignty, of life encoded intelligence. And this path is guided by the heart and the soul. And that's why I need y'all to focus on high heart consciousness right now. Because if you could at least do that, we can get to the other shit later. Y'all trying to reach for Christ consciousness and you ain't even went in the interim. Okay? So it's rooted in heart and soul. It's rooted in remembrance of source. It's aligned with high heart, earth grids, and stellar DNA. You see what I did there? You know, if you've been here from the beginning, stellar energy, why'd you need to understand it? Because it activates your DNA. Okay. Many beings are awakening to this right now, often through dreams, visions, body activations, and deep internal shifts. Okay. The split is occurring in two frequencies, two earths, but not physically two places. Okay. So this is known as bifurcation, okay, or a timeline split. All right. One path is going to continue with this synthetic matrix based on fear, control, and transhuman manipulation, which is AI, shadow tech. Not all AI is bad. Shadow tech AI. Okay. The other is ascending through remembrance, and it's two distinct frequency realms that are overlaying each other. Okay. So what you may notice is some people seem to become more present, more luminous, more compassionate, and others fall into disconnection, to chaos, and to numbness. Okay. This is not about judgment. It's about resonance. Okay. So there's no judgment day. Okay. It's about your frequency, your resonance, your vibration. Okay. And one thing doesn't throw it all out of line. And what I mean like that is, if you're still somebody who eats meat, you just need to pray over your food because it changes the crystalline DNA. Okay. If you're going to drink purified water or whatever it is, pray over it, speak intention over it. Your intention and your tone can literally change anything. If you're going to go to the club, set your intention, clear the atmosphere before you go, set your intention. And if you feel weird, get the fuck out of there. That's it. It doesn't mean that you can't do the stuff that you want to do. That's not what it means. You still want to have fun. And if that brings you joy, then that brings you joy. I like to shake a little ass. So if that brings you joy, it is okay for you to do that, but you need to set your intent. You need to be intentional. Okay, understand that club places, bar places, lounge places, hookah places, there's a lot of negative energy that hangs around there because it wants to attach to you. So maybe don't drink in that environment. Maybe drink at home. You know, maybe set your intention before you drink. Okay, speak over whatever it is you're drinking. Same because the problem is we're doing everything unconscious. That's the problem. You're doing everything unconscious. It's not that you're doing the thing. It's that you're doing it unconscious. The main thing that matters is your heart in the right place. That's resonance. Is your heart in the right place? Okay. Hope you picked that up. I put it down there. You're going to have to go get it. Right? So it's not about judgment. It's about resonance. Each soul is choosing, consciously or unconsciously, your alignment. You are choosing, consciously or unconsciously, your alignment. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are choosing right now. Okay? So what you're being asked to do is to anchor into organic Earth's grid, to hold the flame codes of remembrance. And if you're called, be a bridge. Be a bridge, transmitting the frequency of new Earth through your creations, through your presence, through your voice. If you make music, through your music, Venus teaches you that. Okay? Through your poetry, through your art. Okay? The crystalline Earth needs holders of the original song, the flame holders, the dream walkers, the memory keepers, to fully birth the divine reality. Okay? So when the split happens, we will coexist, but our experiences will become increasingly different, almost as if we're living on parallel Earths with the same physical space. Okay. Meaning like we could be standing in the store next to each other. We could be living in the same house. Okay. So same planet, different frequency realities. Okay. So imagine Earth is like a radio dial and some are tuned into the channel of fear, of division, of materialism and control. And others are tuned into the channel of unity, of compassion, clarity, and soul remembrance. Okay. I actually already see this. People falling deeper into distortion. They want to do good, but they keep distracting themselves. Family will clear the whole board for you, make you sit down, and you still distracting yourself. I see it. It's catching up. I'm telling you. And I don't say that out of fear. I'm going to give y'all the timeline. I'm going to give you the timeline. Okay? Both groups walk the same street, shop the same stores, even live in the same home, but their inner and outer realities are radically different. I love you back, boo. Hey, Vanessa. Thank you, Spiritual Key. That's really sweet. So one sees limitation and conflict, and the other experiences magic and synchronicity and deep soul guidance. Okay? You can't unsee what you have once you have tuned into it. So those awakening to crystalline earth cannot go back. You may feel disconnected from old systems. You might be hyper aware of distortion and synthetic frequencies. You may have a sense that you're walking in between worlds, but also trusting your intuition deepens. Activation through water, through sound, through light, and through dreams is happening. A feeling that you're here to midwife the new earth because you are. You are here to do that. Okay. So over time, as frequencies diverge, two things intensify. There's going to be a discomfort in lower resonance spaces. So people's, places, systems, jobs, technology, and magnetism towards soul aligned experiences. And this is going to be tribal, lands, creativity, grid work. Eventually, the split may become so profound that you simply stop being visible to those other people on a different path. And it's not that you literally disappear, it's just you're energetically filtered. Okay. And this is actually happening subtly right now. It's like you follow each other on Instagram, but you never see each other in person. It's like that. Okay. Some people may forget you or to not even recognize your frequency anymore, which is okay. But we coexist temporarily. Okay. But the compassion is eternal. Understand that's just part of their journey. Not everybody's going to wake up. Okay. There will be a transition period where bridges exist between the two earths. So children are coming in to hold pure crystalline codes. Some will be called to stay close to those choosing the denser reality as a gentle beacon, meaning like just by them being present in those realities, they help to nudge people along. Others will be guided to build and guard the temples of new earth. Okay. So we are not here to judge people on either path. We are here to embody the song and the frequency of our timeline. Okay. Pay attention to how things make you feel. And when you walk in this frequency of love, grace, and truth, you become a living portal to the earth that is already blossoming. Okay. Each overall is moving into, each earth overall is moving into a guardian frequency. So a crystalline resonance that will no longer host certain densities. So souls fully enmeshed in domination and control frequencies may reincarnate elsewhere. Others may enter a purgatory realm, which is not punishment at all, but it's just alchemic refinement. Okay, so purgatory does exist, but it's kind of like a waiting zone or a waiting period or a waiting area. Okay. These places exist in spiritual teaching. So a lot of times people say this is the underworld. This is the lower astral realm, which it is the lower astral plane. Like what we consider to be the astral plane is somewhat like a purgatory. People live full lives there. Some people will pass away and go over there and build the same life and just keep doing what they was doing here over there. Some will fall into AI dominated simulations, and others will fall into distorted earth overlays still running on outdated grids. So what we have to understand is that incarnation is not linear, it's frequency based. Okay. So when a soul leaves the body, it does not just go up or down, it gravitates towards the resonant frequency that it holds. So people who are deeply aligned with lower frequency matrices will likely reincarnate into a similar system unless they shift they soul's trajectory between lives, meaning like there is soul work that you can do in between lives. Some people will be a part of a chain gang that does service if they did a lot of bad stuff here on earth and they're trying to become different. Sometimes when I'm channeling people's family members, they'll send like a guardian or like a spiritual teacher because they're doing work. A lot of them don't like to come back down to earth's density because it's so dense. But yeah, based on where you're resonating when you leave this place, you are going to go towards a place that is similar to where you're resonating. Okay. And these systems may exist on other versions of Earth, still entangled in fear and control. They could be off-world societies with artificial intelligence governance. They could be simulations or soul loops designed to mirror and learn patterns. But every soul always has a chance to awaken, even in the densest realms. Okay. Now, what happens when we shift into the new earth frequency? You begin to vibrate outside of the density of these old systems that we operate in. Your choices, your timelines, and energy begin aligning with truth, love, soul integrity, and multidimensional remembrance. This creates an energetic cloak. So it's not like you're hiding, but you're just non-resonant. You're not resonating with those energies. Your energy is too high for them to perceive you in a way. Okay. To the old structures, you begin to phase out of relevance. So they may still contract with you, which is paperwork, identification, data, but your consciousness becomes untrackable in ways that they rely on. Okay. Yes, they will know that you exist on the surface level, but you still have a legal identity, a digital footprint, and maybe even tax records. But this is just your outer shell. Shell is not your true essence. And the system may register your existence, but it cannot access your purpose, your energy, or mission without permission. Okay. But also kind of like on a soul level, they will not have awareness of you, if that makes sense. So once you begin vibrating in new earth consciousness, you step out of the psychic grid system used to influence or feed off of you. You become undecodable to artificial structures because your soul codes are organic and crystalline and quantum. So basically you're a frequency they can no longer tune into. Even if they still try to reach you through old mechanisms, like say you don't pay your taxes or something like that, which we're going to talk about in a second. Okay. So how to stay sovereign and unseen. If you feel like you're being watched, tracked, or pressured, breathe into your high heart. Say, I exist in the field of source light. I am untouchable by distortion. I dissolve all cords of synthetic attachment now. This reattunes your field instantly. Okay. Remember that you do not have to go off grid in fear. You simply rise above the old matrix through frequency, not escape. Okay. Everything is about resonance. Okay. You become a beacon, not a target. And what that means is once you're truly in the new earth consciousness, you stop being fed food. You stop being food for systems of fear. You begin transmitting a frequency that either awakens or repels without doing anything dramatic. The system may try to understand you, but it cannot predict you. And you become a node of the new grid, gently calling others back to their sovereignty, even from within. Okay. How do you work in conjunction with the old legal system? So what you need to understand is Earth is in a transition between systems. So right now, both the old matrix and the new Earth frequencies are coexisting with each other. While you may be energetically sovereign, the legal or physical systems still operate in the old paradigm based on control and money and ownership and jurisdiction. Okay. That means if you're still operating within the infrastructure, meaning banks and employment and state identification and land ownership, you're still interacting with their agreements, even if not in spirit. So you can still receive fines and legal notice and even face potential arrest depending on how visible the case is. If you're refusing to pay taxes or you're refusing to do those things. And that's why learning how to become a secure party creditor, learning how to correct your status is important, which is what I built my original platform off of. So all of those videos are still available in playlist at the beginning of my playlist on TikTok. Okay. Only on TikTok. All right. But many sovereign beings are already finding a way out. There are souls who have opted out of taxes and legal structures by removing their legal personhood, creating a living trust, which is a unincorporated business trust. Relocating to sovereign lands or communities, operating in private commerce and not public trade, which means releasing your social security number. It also can be giving back your driver's license because in using transportation documents because you have a right to travel. It could be all kind of stuff. Okay, creating new Earth-based exchange systems like energy exchange, gifting economy, or crypto-based networks not tied to fiat. These are advanced sovereignty paths, and while they're real, they require deep understanding of legal linguistics, full energetic alignment, meaning you can't fake the frequency of this. Like you actually have to know what you're doing. And sometimes quiet courage because the system resists what it cannot control, meaning that you got to learn how to be a gentleman or a gentlewoman and deal with these angry toddlers in adult bodies with patience. And you got to use the right language as well, because the police departments are trained to treat people who say the word sovereign like terrorists. Okay, so instead you need to have the right legal terminology within their system. And so there's two ways to go about that path. You can go fully private, or you can be kind of like a mixie working in between the systems. But if you're going to work in between the systems, you better know what the fuck you're doing. And I mean that. That's why I used to teach it. You got to know what you're doing. You have to know the facts. Never lost a court case. Play with your mama, because I don't like being told what to do. I'm a Taurus, baby. We don't do that. We don't do that. I don't know who you think you're talking to. But yeah, being sovereign doesn't mean breaking the law in fear, though. Sovereignty is not about rebellion. It's about alignment. So you can be conscious while interacting with that system. You can pay your taxes while infusing them with light, seeing them as energy exchanges until the shift completes. You can begin to divert your energy slowly from systems of control to systems of integrity. And many flame holders walk both worlds until the new Earth grid is fully stabilized. The key is inner freedom first, which is if you need to pay, if paying your taxes for you feels like betrayal, but not paying them brings fear, then neither of them are sovereign. Okay. Do you hear what I'm saying? If paying your taxes feels like betrayal, you need to figure something out. Because if you don't pay them and it brings you fear, then you're not sovereign in any of those interactions. Okay. So true sovereignty is knowing you are not bound by the system internally, choosing how you engage with awareness and spiritual clarity, calling back your power from the illusion of control. Okay. So when will this Earth frequency fully stabilize? Okay. We are in the process right now. Thank you. We are in the process right now. But here's how it unfolds. From 2020 until 2027, there's a period called the Great Unveiling. And this is where more people are waking up, but timelines are still rapidly splitting. Systems wobble and resist and reveal their distortions, which is why we see Hollywood burning to the goddamn ground. The new Earth grid expands through individuals, but not through governments. Okay. 2028 through 2032 is called the grid stabilization phase. And this is the organic crystalline grid, which anchors more deeply. Okay, so new systems of energy, of governance, of healing and trade emerge quietly, but powerfully, and more flame holders go off grid, sovereign, or form frequency-based communities. Okay, and then 2033, which is using their little Atlantean soul technology that they stole, which is called the looking glass. They can't see past 2033. And the reason being is because of the split. Okay. But 2033 and beyond, this is when the two Earths become fully divergent. You won't have to correct your status because the old structure will no longer recognize or hold you. You will be on the living Earth, not the simulation of Earth. But the shift doesn't happen on a date. It happens when within each being who embodies the frequency. So yeah, kiss the chef. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's it. That's it. So what I'm saying is the next 8 years are important. Okay, the next 8 years are important. You got to get out of that fear-based ideology, and you have to unplug from what's going on in the government. A lot of the shit that they're doing is baiting you. The riots in LA, baiting you. They will start chaos, and then when you join in, treat you like you started the chaos. You have to unplug. And I'm not saying don't be aware, but sometimes compassion is held with presence. It doesn't mean you have to actually do something. Okay? Some of that shit is organized. That's why they can walk the street with a mask and a flags and there's no cops around. But for the riots, there are cops around. They are baiting you because they need to get you in a place of fear. And if they attack you, they are able to do that. You have to hold your flame steady, which means you have to know who you are, which is why I'm doing this every week. They are doing what they body and they vessel came here to do. Let them do that shit. That's not what your body and your vessel came here to do, though. If enough of us hold the flame, we flip and switch the timeline. And they could be stuck where the fuck they are, and we could be over here living good. Okay? Living good. Unplug. Because everything that they're doing is trying to loop you back in. And the contracts ended. They ended already. That's why they're trying to get you to recontract. Right now, they're raising the price of food because if you become desperate, then they can come in, swoop in, and give you a solution, but they're recontracting with you. If you have not looked into, let me tell you what to do. Scrid, SCRIBD, Scrid.com, or it could be scribed, and I might just be a little slow, whichever one. Okay? Scribed, whatever the fuck. Get an account. It's $14.99 a month. I've probably had it for the last 7 years. When you go on there, because it is a membership website, people can post any and everything. Go on there and type in secured party creditor. If you want to correct your status, that is where you need to look. All of the resources are downloadable. All you do is got to plug your name into it, take it down there, file it. That's real tea. Okay? If you want to learn the information, YouTube, Robots and Patriots. That is the channel name, Robots and Patriots. Go all the way back to the very, 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 very beginning. Start there. And they do a whole secure party creditor thing. Now, it is going to be confusing. Some of y'all is going to go over your fucking head. That is okay. Sleep with it on. Why? Because your brain integrates. And if your body can know, your mind will catch up. Sleep with it on. Play it in the background. When you wake up, your brain is going to synchronize and integrate. And the next time you listen to it, you're going to understand more. Trick the fucking system. Your subconscious mind is reached through sound. That's why I'm saying sleep with it. Okay? Now, it is going to go over your head with the secure party creditor videos that they have. And each video is 2, 3, 4 hours. I just want you to take notes on the little things that you can pull from that, because then you can go on Scribd and put in the information, and then you have a person who's explaining it all to a fucking T. Okay? Those secure party creditor videos that they have are like in the middle of like a web program or whatever. I used to do consultations. I used to do a class every Sunday, 3-4 hours sometimes, helping people. It's hard because it took me 1.5 years to learn all the information, because they make it so convoluted because they're trying to confuse your mind. They're trying to confuse your mind. So they make it so convoluted. You have to know their system better than them, because half the time they don't even know their system, because they 150 years indoctrinated into it. They just think they're doing their job. You have to show them or make them do their job properly. which means you need to know how their system works. Because when you know how their system works, you can come up with an appropriate and conscious strategy on how to handle them. It's a website. I do not still help with correcting people's status because I can lead you to water, but I cannot make you drink. 1. 2, y'all don't want to do the work, and that's part of the problem. Y'all want somebody who y'all can ask questions to instead of going to look it up yourself. And how are you ever going to learn what you need to learn if you keep coming to me? You need to learn how to depend on yourself because you are all you got. That's it. You need to learn how to depend on yourself. You need to learn how to find the answers because if you ever get in a fucking pinch, you are going to have to represent yourself. So why not bump your head before? Because I'm not going to be there to help you. You need to learn how to do it yourself. And that's not me being mean. That is me trying to prepare you for life. That is me trying to prepare you for life. You are the expert in your life. You are the guidance in your life. You need to start acting like it. You have to, at this point, start acting like it. And I mean that with all the love that I have for you because I need you to be prepared. You know? That's it. Because I can tell you, I can send you all the documents. I can't tell you how many times I helped that group was 350 something people. We'd be 10 weeks ahead and somebody asked me about something from day one. Oh, I'm just getting around from it. I'm just getting around to it. Can you re-explain this to me? No, I cannot re-explain that to you. Because if you cared enough, you would have listened. You would have did it, you know? And so it's out of love, the reason why I don't do that anymore is because I am ill preparing you. And then you become dependent on me. You get in the process and you keep treating me like I'm your lawyer and you keep coming back like, well, what do I do now? Well, what do I do at this step? What do I do at that step? And then I tell you exactly what to do. You go do it your own way. And then you come back to me like, I fucked up. Can you help me? Can you fix me? If you would have just did it yourself the first fucking time, since you don't even listen to the directions I be giving, do y'all see that I got trauma from this? So I suggest you get on Scribd, you type in how to operate a trust, and they're going to have everything for you. I just gave y'all the biggest piece of tea. Get a Scribd account, it's $14.99. Get on there and type in secure party creditor. Everything that you need will pull up there. How to run a estate, how to run a trust, how to do the process, how to do everything. That's where you want to ask. That's who you want to ask. Scribd. You see that? How I just gave y'all the sauce and y'all. The question is, how do I do? I'm telling you, listen to me. Get on Scribd, get an account, type it in. They have fucking booklets on how to set up a trust, how to operate that trust. Not only that, they have booklets on the policies within the court systems, right? Because you want to look up the job titles. If you are the county clerk, what is your responsibility as the county clerk? What does the policy say? Oh, it's $11.99. See, when I started Scribd, it was $20.99. I've had it since 2020. So I've had it for 5 years. It was $20, $19.99. Now it's $11.99. Y'all are getting a steal. I didn't care. I'm paying it. I don't care. I find there are books on there. All the spiritual books that I was reading to do the podcast all came from Scribd. And when you get a Scribd account, because they just in the last 2 years split it. So if you got a Scribd account, you got an Everend account. That's audio books. Every book you can really think of. There's only been 2 books that I've not been able to find through Scribd. It's absolutely worth it. Best investment. I am able to get on here and do what I do because of Scribd. Scribd. Yes, this is going to be on YouTube, my love. You know? Okay, so let's answer the questions from the Patreon. So, which template is aligned when you have deja vu? Your template, your personal template is aligned when you have deja vu. Okay. I just experienced this vibration with my eyes. So that's an activation. No. Mm-mm. Meaning vibration, like in your body, like your whole body is vibrating. That's what I mean by that. Your eye could just be twitchy. You know what I'm saying? The one that says Star said with a BD. The body temperature at night is something else. I thought it was pre-menopause systems. It might be, but also activated in codes, because also you got to think when you go past that menopause gate, wisdom activates, DNA activates. Okay. Those who are soul bridges, does this have to do with knowing someone will die soon? It could, because soul bridges work in prophecy sometimes. You mentioned those who have attachment styles. How do you get rid of attachment or avoidant behavior? What's the best way to do that? You have to go back and you have to do shadow work. You have to go back and do shadow work. I think, and also study the planet Venus. Venus is meant to teach you how to enjoy life. Okay. But it's meant to teach you overall that life is best enjoyed with a sense of detachment. Okay. So embodying the energy of Venus, meaning like wearing the color pink. Okay. Because pink is directly associated with Venus. Using rose oil to anoint yourself, like burning pink candles, things like that. Like you really need to immerse yourself in the energy of Venus, or study Venus, because you put yourself in the frequency of Venus. Right. And when you can do that, it helps you to learn how to do that as well, because these planets were never meant to be, something we just look at in the sky. Like they are frequencies that we are meant to embody. We are meant to channel in these frequencies, tap into these frequencies, and they help us to embody and learn what we need to learn. So you kind of need to surround yourself in the energy of Venus, but you also need to realize that everything in life is temporary. Everything is supposed to be temporary. So just by expanding your awareness, expanding your consciousness, healing your chakra system, which is doing shadow work, helps you with that, because the reason why we have energy blockages is because we're holding on to trauma, and we're holding on to pain, and we're not allowing our energy, because we're contracted in this area, our energy can't flow up and down and up and down, so actually deal with the trauma, which is where shadow work comes in, looking at those things honestly and saying, you know what? Let me stop focusing on the detail. This experience was necessary because it was meant to teach me a lesson. What's that lesson? And then the only time you look at that thing from the past event is if you're going through something right now that's associated with that. Then you need to release your expectations on what's to come, because the only time you're looking forward is to figure out where you're going, so you can figure out what you need to do right now to get there quicker. Not quicker, to get there. Okay? But when you keep looking forward as like, I should be doing this, I should be here, you become dissatisfied with where you are. So learning presence too. It's a lot that goes into learning how to detach. It took me a long time. It took me a very long time. But there's this book, y'all. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you some more tea. There is this book called, where is the book? Oh, damn, I deleted it. Hold on, let me get on script real quick, or script, whatever the fuck. There's a book called The Ascension Guide. And it basically tells you how to go through each level of ascension. I think the first thing is how to release grief and how to release, whatever. The Ascension Manual. It's by Josh David Stone or something like that. Yes. So it's called The Complete Ascension Manual, How to Achieve Ascension in This Lifetime. It's by Joshua David Stone. He gives you a step by step what you need to work on first. Once you get this mastered, then you need to initiate yourself into the next one, right? Once you get that mastered, then you need to, and it's really going up the chakra system, but he don't organize it that way. But that's literally what it's doing. Healing the chakra system, right? The things that you need to learn how to do. And detachment is the last one, because the detachment is associated with your crown. And, I think sometimes we try to jump up to your third eye into your crown when you haven't fixed what comes below it. You have to fix what comes below it, right? And then you work on the spiritual side of things. But if you go and open up the spiritual and you ain't fixed the bottom, spiritual psychosis, that is where that comes from. Okay? So I hope that helps. I've always wondered why my body emits lots of heat, and I mean lots of heat, but I'm always cold. What could this be? Same thing, activation codes. And you're probably always cold because you have a root chakra issue. Anemia comes from not feeling safe. So you need to go back and fix the money issues, the not feeling safe around certain people, all of those things. How can you tell if your chakras are healed? You will know. Your energy flows better. You don't have any pain in your body. You're very, very flexible. Hey, Shira. Flexibility is a sign of good health. Being flexible in your mind, being flexible in your emotional state, being flexible in your physical body. If you are experiencing pain in your body, you have blockages. If you have any diseases, you have blockages, because a disease is a dis-ease in your energy flow. So if anything is stiff, you have blockages. If anything hurts, you have blockages. Yep. I noticed that things are flowing better financially. Good. You probably done some root work, which is good. Always start with your root, because your root is your crown. That is saying as above, so below. Your root is your crown. So muscle tightness, energy flow. Pain in your hips not flexible, emotional trauma. Kidneys hurting, anger. That's what you need to deal with, anger. Stomach problems, solar plexus, mental, that's a mental issue. Stomach problems, you overthinking, you overusing your mind, you can't digest life. I think half of us just need to stop trying to figure out the whys. The whys don't matter. What happened? What was the lesson trying to teach you? Set a boundary, move on. When you get stuck in the why, you get stuck in the trauma loop. Fuck the why doesn't matter. What happened? So that they can never do that shit again. Set a boundary so that every time it shows up in your reality, this is what I'm going to do, and move on. Because you can't do anything about the past. You don't need to understand why they did it. If it was something that was harmful for you, why do you need to understand why they did it? They not considering you. Why are you trying to consider them? You know? Breast cancer, tumors, heart issue, grief, forgiveness, schizophrenia, crown issue, any mental disorder, crown and third eye imbalance, eating disorders, solar plexus, sacral imbalance. It's all connected to your chakra system, because your chakra systems are the planets within. They're meant to help you to embody the planetary energy, because the planets are the chakra system of the universe that we live in. The sun is the flame of this universe. It's high spiritual energy, and that's why melanin is a spiritual conductor, and it's able to take in that spiritual energy and process it without burning. You have a sun at the center of your chest. Well, for me, generators is at your sacral. Generators is at your sacral. Manifestors is usually at your chest or your throat. Projectors usually at your throat. As above, so below. I think everything can be resolved through healing your chakra system, because when you heal your chakra system, it leads to higher densities of consciousness. It leads to expanded awareness. It leads to ascension. You can take in more light. And when you can take in more light, light is information. You understand more. Generators are generators, all generators. A manifesting generator is a generator. Does that mean anything when your hand is itching all the time? Probably have a flow energy. When your hands are portals, your hands conduct energy. These are energy conductors. So when you hold them like this, you can feel the energy between them. But a lot of people have energy blockages because of bicep, shoulder issues, throat issues, really, because throat is the shoulder. So shoulder issues, which cause a lack of circulation, which you get neuropathy. When your energy is not circulating, you get neuropathy, which is a direct sign that your energy is not flowing properly. You know? Okay. This is the output. Well, usually if you're right-handed, whatever your dominant hand is, outputs energy, meaning it's how you push energy outside of you. Whatever your non-dominant hand, which is usually right and left, whatever your non-dominant hand is, receives energy. So it's about internal. This is about self. This is about the outworld. So be careful when you hold in people's hand, because you're either receiving energy or you sending out energy. You're welcome. I have a lot of information on my YouTube. If you're not following me on my YouTube, get on my YouTube. I do so much free work for y'all because I want y'all to be able to find it if y'all lost and y'all have nowhere to go. YouTube is where all my long form content is. If you want to learn about the chakras, it's there. If you want to learn about tarot, it's there. If you want to learn about the auric field, it's there. If you want to learn about spiritual protection, spiritual hygiene, getting into energetic alignment with the days, the months, the week, it's there. Everything. You want to learn about astrology? There. I only talk about the planets though, because I haven't finished that, because I start things and I don't finish them, and whatever. I finished the set, which is good. Numerology there. Energy there. Everything there. I also have a spiritual protection class available on my website. It's 3.5 hours. I talk about the light, the colors, because color is light. How you can use colors to do energy work. I actually teach you and give you energy work rituals to be doing to heal your womb, to open your heart. I teach you different mudras, right? Because these are energy circuits. You can move energy through your body by holding specific frequencies. This is channeling in knowledge, connecting to your overflow, right? I give you everything. This is healing energy. If you want to heal your energy, flip your hands upwards, lay on your back, make sure your thighs ain't touching, and just hold this, just like this, okay? So bendy, these two, pinky in the air, flip it. That's how you heal emotional trauma. Everything is on my website. If you want to know how your energy exists in this reality, human design. Human design. It tells you what your masculine energy is, what your feminine energy is. And not only do I do human design for you, I also do human design, mommy and me. I don't know anybody else who does that for them kids. Why? Because you need to know how to parent your kids. And I hate to be the one to tell you how to parent your kids, but I also have been a kid before. So some of y'all be needing to know. On the website, general life readings. In that, we can do anything on general life right now. Past lives, if you want to look at those and we got time, available on the website. Mediumship, if your loved one has passed over and you want to connect with them, website. Energetic profile, say you get the human design and you don't know what steps to take. Well, I will put together a plan for you, which takes me over 5 hours by the freaking way. But I only offer it for $80. Why? Because I want you to have the information. I offer Klarna. I offer Afterpay. I have a meditation guide on there, but I also teach you how to do meditation through YouTube. YouTube has all the free stuff. And I'm working on getting these rituals together so that I can put them on my website and y'all can buy them for $11.11 because spiritual alignment, all of my pricing has to do with spiritual energy. $11.11. I'm working on flame lineage readings right now, which means I can tell y'all what flame y'all come from so I can put together a plan to help you how to get into alignment that way. There's that. Working on redoing human design to be able to tell you the flame lineages if you want to do it that way. That's on the way. Yeah. So I'm doing a lot. Every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, meet me here. 1 o'clock Pacific time, 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern. Meet me here and we continue in this conversation. But everything that I do, everything that I offer, everything that I've been doing for the last 3 years has been this. And I only just remembered a couple of months ago. So talk about alignment. You know, you are so welcome, my love. I saw a video you did about people siphoning energy. That was wow. Yeah. That's why the spiritual protection class is about this. It's ancient technology. It's not what most people are going to tell you how to do spiritual protection. No, I give you things to say. I give you rituals to do. I tell you exactly what you need to do. I tell you what light to use. I go through all of it. I tell you what they used to do back in the day. It's 3 hours, 3.5 hours of nothing but gems. Nothing but gems. My website, www.bigtaj with 2 J's, so BIGTAJJ.com. Ask and you shall receive. I'm getting the energetic alignment now. Coolio. I'm going to take the spiritual protection class. Yeah, it's available right now. If you purchase it right now, you'll be sent this little card that has the link to it. It's on my YouTube, but it's unlisted, meaning like you have to purchase it. You click it, you got immediate access to it. And at the end of that, I'm doing readings for people because if you come to anything that I offer and you're asking me questions and I need to tap into your energy to get the answers to that question, I will do that. Thank you. I appreciate that, Amiris. You know, each one teach one. I'm also a spiritual mentor, but I got about 9 people right now. And I said I was only going to do 4, and I don't know why I did that. But I'm also a spiritual mentor. So I help people with shadow work. If you're struggling with shadow work and you need somebody to bounce off ideas, I am a medium. I am a psychic. So I am able to tell you the other side of the situation or the things that you cannot see. And we are able to come to some type of compassion, some type of closure, some type of any of that. If your parents are passed over, I can channel them in and we can talk about the things that you need to talk about. I had a psychic session with somebody the other day and their husband came through and was like, this is what the issue is. This is also the other issue. These are the things that she needs to be doing. And it's like, oh, I didn't even notice that. You know, had a session with a mentee the other day. I said something that's like, oh my gosh. So basically I'm just repeating the same cycle everywhere. Yes, you are. Let me show you how. And I'm very crafty with my words. So I'm going to make you see it first. Lay the foundation, because if you don't see it, I can't help you. So to me, it's fun because I'm a lady of strategy, you know, but it's the goal. The goal is to make you empowered, independent, sovereign. Whatever I do, you can do. You're going to be better at me at things over here. I'm going to be better at you at things over there. Everybody has a function. Everybody has a purpose. What is your purpose? Spiritual mentorship is not about me trying to get you to be like me. No, spiritual mentorship is about me trying to get you to be like you. Because if you can stand in your tone, I can stand in my tone. We raise the tones. But if you're trying to do my job and I'm trying to do your job, we are out of alignment. We are not in the right place. And I teach you the juice. I expect that you're going to go out and teach your people the juice. Right? I got 5 baby psychics. One of them is doing work every day. She on live giving readings. Love that for her. Please continue to do that work. Others have decided to go in another way. That's fine. But do they understand that they're a psychic now? Yes, absolutely. Got a group of psychics coming through right now. Got a group of 7 that's probably going to come through pretty soon. I'm not doing something that you can't do. You just don't understand your technology. And that's why I am on here constantly preaching. Okay. So I love y'all. This was great. This will be posted on YouTube immediately. So if you missed any part of it, please go check out YouTube immediately. I might come on tomorrow. I think I have like a reading. I might have 3 things to do tomorrow. I don't necessarily know. We will see. But I might come on here tomorrow or come on Friday. No, it'll probably be tomorrow. I might come on here tomorrow and just shoot the breeze with y'all, do some free readings and stuff like that. But I love y'all deep. I hope you have an amazing weekend. But yeah, thank you for showing up. Thanks for participating. Sending y'all all the love back in the world. I hope y'all hear me. Okay. Alrighty. Love y'all back. Bye. All right, YouTube. Appreciate you.